Okay. All right. I believe we are live now on channel 21, and the time being 6:32. I will call the meeting to order for the regular meeting of the Federal City Council for December 1st of 2020. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
I pledge allegiance
to the flag
to the
flag
of the United States of America
of the United States of America
and for the republic
and for the republic
for which it stands, and one nation under God,
one nation under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Great job, everybody. All right. Getting good at that. Okay. Well, why don't we have been waiting for quite some time for the next presentation. We talked about the Eyes on Federal Way. And actually, we got the name for it during my State of the City address. Gosh, 9 months ago now. About 9 months ago in February, late February, at the State of the City. And I believe we took a vote at the State of the City address at the Performing Arts and Event Center. This is all before the big shutdown on what we were going to call it. And the audience came up with Eyes on Federal Way. And we've been working on the launch. And with that, why don't I turn it over to our IT director, Thomas Fitchner, to talk about what Eyes on Federal Way is and what it's going to do for all of us.
All right, thank you, Mayor. It's my pleasure to present this before you tonight. Let me just got it queued up here. Share my screen. So here we go. So just the mayor did a really good job summarizing. So I will hit on a few things. He said that yes, it did start the State of the City address, or debuted there. The public did vote among three choices, and they chose Eyes on Federal Way. And then from there, we had done quite a bit of comparison, especially around with our neighbor cities. There was two really top contenders, vendors, QSend and SeeClickFix, and we ultimately chose SeeClickFix based on best fit for our needs. And it will be launched on December 15th in the Apple App Store and Google Play. That is, the little guy down there is the logo of Eyes on Federal Way. So what is SeeClickFix? It is, in short, it is at the core a customer request management system, or CRM. If you've heard those buzzwords be thrown around, this is what it is. We are considering it a citizen request management system. And also our Parks Department will be using it as a work order management system. They are in desperate need of a system, an actual asset management system as well. But at least this will get them off of the in-house system that they are currently using that was developed a long time ago, again, in-house. So this is going to be a huge step up for them. It is a cloud-based system. It is accessible via a website or an app. So regardless, if a member of the public comes onto our website, they can also submit a request the same way that they would and have a very similar experience. And we'll get into that a little bit as the app. And then finally, or the integration component, this software, SeeClickFix, works with many vendors, many software, especially in the government space, two of which are important to us. ViewWorks is a system that our public works staff use, as well as the Esri system that we use for GIS, or the Geographical Information Systems, that we produce all of our maps with. And this is key a little bit later on as well in the presentation. And SeeClickFix is not some fly-by-night organization. They are partnered with over 400 agencies. And on the next map here, you will see that there are several of our neighbors. And in fact, they just signed City of Kent to their software as well. So just like us, they will be joining. So as you can see, it's widespread. We toured specifically Auburn and Renton when we were kind of querying the different cities and the different products. So what can it do? It's effectively, we have a citizen action request system right now. We call it the CAR system, and that is a very old system. It was developed before I got to the city in 2003. So sometime between 2000 and 2003, it was written in-house again, and it is very limited in function. And it was meant to just track who was calling and make sure that we assigned somebody to it, and we got the request handled. This is a huge step up from where we are today. It will automate that process, and two of the big key components is triaging and assigning requests to the correct department and staff, and that's an automated process now, where before it's a manual. So based on, for example, based on a type of request the citizen or a member of the public submits, it will go directly into the hands of where it needs to go. So, for example, a graffiti request will go directly to the graffiti staff. There's no middleman. The system takes care of that. So it's huge. It also will allow us to engage with residents, which will have two-way communication. A lot of times, maybe there needs to be some additional clarifying information that our staff, in order to fulfill the request, need to obtain from the requester, and this will allow that two-way communication to happen directly from the staff to the customer and back and forth. So it's way better than what we're doing right now. And so again, it's one system for the request received by the city. So we're actually looping quite a few things into one system with SeeClickFix. And also, like with the ability, data analytics is very powerful today with what we can do and how we can look at data in different ways. And this being integrated with our GIS system, we can look at things in a lot of different ways to try and figure out what's going on. Are there patterns in the city? Is graffiti or trash or particular potholes? A lot of potholes happening in a particular area of the city, and we can look at that over time. By request type, and that will really help us identify maybe some proactive abilities. And then finally, it just fine-tunes workflow management and operational efficiency by doing all of the above. This is an example. So these are all screenshots from the presentation that SeeClickFix gave us, and it helps you because our portal isn't live yet. So this is the best we can kind of do right now. And I've got a little special for you at the end that you'll be able to see, a little sneak peek. But this is an example of the public portal on the website. So you'll see on the kind of the left-hand side, the City of Albuquerque's their website, graffiti removal page, web page, and they'll have a button that says Report Graffiti Online. And you'll see on the right-hand side, that's actually kind of the start of the request. Next up is the public portal or the app experience. So this is the main screen from a variety of different apps. So you can see they all look very similar look and feel, because under the hood, it's the same app. It's just branded differently depending on, and customized differently depending on each agency's needs. So when you start the reporting by clicking that, I'm going to go back one slide here, the orange button at the bottom, that's how you start the process to submit a request. And when you do that, you select a category. So we're working from the left phone, so to speak, to the center to the right. So you select a category, and then it will let you know that if there are duplicate issues, let's say somebody already reported it. Okay, well, if somebody's already reported it, then I don't need to do it again. So it helps alleviate that. But if it's a completely different issue, then the person can still go ahead and report it. And then, as you can see on the right-hand side, they can fill in additional information. They can take a picture, and then they can create the report. So very simple. This is also a screen for our staff. So if somebody does still call into the city, we can use, our staff can log into the system and track this. And this is just kind of what an internal tracking request submission would look like. And right here is kind of a kind of peel back. The mayor had asked me to kind of keep it general, but kind of we want to look under the hood a little bit and see the inner workings. And this is part of how the power of the automation works. So it'll automatically assign requests that come in. If the SLA or service level agreement, so let's say, for example, we establish a day or 24 hours or 2 days worth to pick up a certain item or to fill a pothole or whatever the case is based on our work processes. If that SLA lapses, then it can automatically take this request and then bring it up to somebody else, manager or supervisor, director, or in this case, the city manager in this particular example. And then you can have due date escalation as well. So this is stuff that is all set up behind the scenes. This is why it's taking so long. We have to granularly pick and figure out how all of these different request categories, where they're going, and figure this stuff out for each category that we have, and we have quite a few. And then on the top right part of the screen, you can see that an email went out, and it said, "Hey, these following items are overdue." And so it can email the staff, and that's kind of what they're going to see in their inboxes. So not only do they get the notification on their device, but they'll also get it in their inbox. And this is on our staff side of things. This is kind of the initial email. So after the customer submits the request, they will go ahead and see this not only in the app on the right-hand side, but also an email kind of on the main screen there. And this one is an example of a ticket being closed. So it's a little bit harder to see on this particular screen, but what you'll see is kind of a lot of the core of the request, where it was geographically in the city, the kind of the type, and then some where it was the due date, who it was assigned to, the SLA, and when it was open, when it was acknowledged, when it was closed, and any comments. And then on the right hand side where you see on the phone, you'll see that the tree inspector or the person from the city was able to, tree has been removed. They took a picture of the work, and then the resident was able to come back and say thank you. So that it allows, again, that engagement, that two-way communication between our staff and the citizens. This is an example, a little bit hard to read. I try to make it as large as possible. Ultimately, these are just different categories, and these are the categories that you would submit a request with. And this is kind of part of the data that we can get. How many were created? How many were acknowledged? How many were closed? What's the average days to acknowledgement? What are the average days to close? How long does it take us to handle a graffiti call? How long does it take us to handle a shopping cart pickup? And so we can see all that. And then how many SLA days. So, we have, for example, on this top one, streetlight outage or malfunction, they have it set for 7 days, 7.0 days. And then they're hitting their percent within SLA. 78% of their requests are done within their SLA time. So that helps us kind of figure out our efficiencies and where we might need a little bit more help as well, so operationally. This is an example, as I mentioned before, of the GIS integration. This is one way of doing it. They have a map, and they have all different colored dots on it, and the different dots are different types of requests by category. And so we can take that even further and create some cool dashboards, some percentages, some additional statistics. We can also use some data analytics software, but really the openness of that data allows us to do a lot of different things and figure out what's being reported, how is it being reported, how are we doing as a staff, as a city, being responsible, et cetera. So there's a lot of power here in data analysis. And then this is actually a really cool thing. Everybody is familiar with what's called push. The technical term is a push notification. So every time you're up for a meeting or OfferUp has a new, something, somebody messages you on it, you're selling something, or Facebook or Instagram pops up on your screen, such as what's displayed there on the left-hand side. We can do that too through this app. So if you have it installed, you can say, hey, in this example, there's a parking ban active Saturday, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And you can push that out to all the people and the subscribers. So there's a lot of different cool things that we can do as a city and notify our residents via this app too. Now, the treat that I promised, this is actually our app. This is, as you can see from the top, it's Federal Way Washington in the sandbox. So this is what it'll look like. We'll have the picture image in the background. This is live in the sandbox right now. And then there's 3 screens. So basically, this is a scroll. So you would just scroll, up through the screen, and then you would get to the items in the middle, and then you would get to the items on the right hand side. So this is how it is right now. This is what we're working with. So the first part obviously would be submitting a request first and foremost. So you can either push on that first list item, or you can of course push on the orange button at the bottom. So 2 different ways of doing it, but we can also publish a lot of other information, as you can see that we've done. And that is an Android-based look. And you'll see what's cool about this is ClickFix has done a really good job, because the next slide is Apple, and this is an iOS-based, and it looks very, very similar. So the platforms are very consistent, which is very important for us. And finally, the rollout plan. I'll speak a little bit to this. Tyler's been working with Stacy Curry from my department, and Stacy's basically the project manager on this. She's been handling all the technical stuff and doing a lot of the coordination with the vendor and with the departments, and she's been doing a great job, and a lot of work is being put into this. And Tyler and Stacy have been working together, and right now, currently running actively on the 320th and 348th electronic boards is that slide that you see pictured there. So it's promoting the app, the Eyes on Federal Way app. We have an active banner on the city's website and coordinating the post on city social media pages as well. And then we're doing a combination of teaser, promotional, how-to videos to debut on social media. YouTube, we've been working with our videographer to kind of produce some of those as well, so we can throw it up on YouTube, Channel 21, and link it as well in this month. And the how-to presentation, where we can actually deep dive into the actual app and kind of walk through a request, is going to be slated for the next council meeting, January 5th. So we're excited, and then that way we can show you a little bit of live data behind the scenes, those statistics, a little bit of that. So that's going to be really exciting, and I'd be happy to do that one as well. So any questions for myself? I've also got Stacy on here as well, and then I believe Tyler is as well. So I'll open it up for you.
Very good. Well, first I would like to say thank you very much, Thomas, and to your team, and to everybody involved in this. Just great work. Very, very pleased. We've got 2 questions so far. Councilmember Kraft first.
Oh, you muted.
Thank you, Director Fishner. This is really exciting. I think that both the iOS app and the Android app look really great. I guess a few questions. Will the users be able to see the dashboard so they know if a complaint has already been reported?
Yeah, yes, they will. And so there's 2 parts to that. The first one is, as I walk through it, the duplicate ability, so that if you're submitting, let's say for example, just some litter that's on the side of the street, the system knows, okay, litter category, this location already been submitted, so it's going to bring some of those up. We have the ability actually of presenting, and you probably noticed that from some of the screenshots that we said that some cities or agencies had 23,000 closed requests and all that stuff.
Right, like live dashboards basically.
Yeah, so there is a map that they can see, and I believe Stacy can correct me if I'm wrong. It's a short period of time, because if we keep all of our requests overall time up there, it's just going to get littered with stuff. So there is a short period of time where things roll off, and we have the ability to list those based on category. So if there's something that's a little bit more sensitive in nature, then it might not become public, but there will be a public dashboard. It just Stacy can again talk to a little bit more of the specifics on how we've kind of managed that. But yes, the answer to your question is yes, and it is customizable.
Great. And then the categories that we saw on the screen, did you determine those categories just based on how the departments have been getting requests across the board?
So I did not show our categories. I showed there was a couple of categories from some other agencies, and I didn't. The reason I didn't show ours is because it's still in flux.
Okay.
And so I didn't want to prematurely put something out there if things weren't quite dialed in.
Sure.
But yes, we've been working with the departments based on kind of the needs and what they were thinking. Like for example, there's a category for parks, and they were looking at internally for their work order management side of things. They're like, oh yeah, we need to obviously use the spray park. The spray park needs to be its own little section there because we will get requests on that. So that's how we're working to develop the system.
And we can always make edits on those categories, right?
Yes, in fact, one of the agencies, City of Renton, is kind of it's ever changing. They said once they launched it, they're always tweaking it because no matter what we think the request might be called, somebody from the public might think something completely different. And so we'll see that if requests are being miscategorized, we can of course make tweaks. We can add categories. We can delete them. We can rename them. Yes.
Great. And then the last question I had was, is this app only available in English?
That's a very good question. One I was not prepared for. I think at this point the answer to that question is yes. But if Stacy knows anything different, then please let me know.
Stacy?
See, she's still.
Hi. So at this moment, I believe it's in English. I can always double check for you.
Okay. Thank you. Those are all the questions I had. I'm excited that we'll have a city app.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much. All right, Council President Honda.
Thank you. It's fun to hear you so excited, Thomas, about something. So I can tell in your voice that you're very excited about this. So this is awesome. I would like to know if you could add the City Council on your list of. You had the mayor, and then you had the city's webpage, and also if you could add the council Facebook page, because we do put a lot of information out on our Facebook page.
Do you want? So we have. Looking back at that, I can bring it up here. Quick. So we have the mayor's page here, and I believe that goes directly to his web page, if I recall correctly. And then, so you're thinking put something on the main screen or later down towards like where it says, Federal Way Facebook, Federal Way Twitter, Instagram.
So maybe under Federal Way Facebook, it could be Federal Way or Council Facebook page because it's different than the Federal Way Facebook page.
Yeah, we can do that. And also just to confirm, the link on the site does load the mayor's city's webpage. So we could also load City Council as well.
Okay, that'd be awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Councilmember Moore.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. To add to what Council President Honda was saying, Thomas, this looks absolutely beautiful. Great backdrop in terms of photo for the Eyes on Federal Way for the menu there. It's fantastic. I would like to request that the City Council website is listed under Mayor Jim Farrell. So you have submit a service request, Mayor Jim Farrell, City Council, and then City COVID-19 information. So I think that would be my 2 cents. And I think this is fantastic on so many fronts. Mayor, I appreciate your visionary efforts on this. I think it's time for us to continue to keep moving forward when it comes to technology and really be imaginative when it comes to utilizing technology in the 21st century. So, with that, I'll just end my comment. Thanks.
Great. Thank you very much. All right, Councilmember Suffolk Dawson.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Thomas. This is really exciting. My question is, I see a few things that were repeated on that page, like the Performing Arts Center and maybe police. Is there a reason for that, or it's not finalized yet, and you just developing the categories?
Yeah, none of this stuff is finalized yet, and I was again hesitant. I was going to do a live demo because I always think there's always two sides to that. It could just completely crash and burn. So there's always that risk, but also just in case, like I didn't want to kind of get too deep into the weeds on this. So I was hesitant to put this up there, but I figured it'd be a nice treat just to share with council and the mayor, what it actually looks like today, at least the front screen. And so to answer your question, there's still a lot of stuff in flux that is going to still be changed as time gets closer and closer to the 15th. So I will make sure that if there is a repeat, that there's a reason why. Maybe it goes into two different things. Maybe it needs to be different verbiage on it. So I will look for that as well when I check for English only, and if there's availability in other languages, and also adding the council stuff on there too.
Thank you. And then my other question is the public information request, is it in there? I did not see it. And would it be part of this process?
If it isn't, it should be, because there is. Yes, there is. So if you look here, I'll bring it back up here on the screen. Yeah, it's on the right hand side. So public records about almost just above center.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, and if it's the contact Federal Police, Performing Arts, and the school district, it's because when I took the screenshots, when I scrolled through the app, that's why. So it's not actually duplicate. It's just on the screenshot. You can see how road construction updates, and then I wanted that as kind of a placeholder to start that next screenshot so that you'd be able to track as we step through it, because I can't digitally scroll a picture. So that's why.
Yeah, no, I get it. Thank you so much.
All right. Councilmember Baruso.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thomas, looks great. Let me put it that way. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for getting that out there. So my question is on the dashboards, and I know after a while, after data building and everything like that, that there's an average, you're probably build out a closeout to average closing out those SLAs. So my question is, when you start getting those averages, are we going to look for a standardized time for like picking up trash at a certain place? Do we want to establish that, or are we just going to kind of keep that open? Because I know folks sometimes will want to know, okay, I did this, and it should only take this much time for you to come to that. So I just didn't know if that was coming to a thought about that, or are we going to think about doing that, or just an average closeout time for certain items on the dashboard, would that be established? I guess is what I'm asking.
So the dashboard currently is on that detail level is an internal based dashboard. So that's something that our staff would look at. That's not something that would be published, at least from ClickFix side. What we can do is we can take that data and create dashboards from there. We haven't had any discussion on that. I think that's going to come as we utilize the system. The department directors are going to be able to see kind of how the departments are doing, how things are going. I mean, the mayor is going to be very engaged with it. So it's a good question. It's an operational question. That the technology, we have the ability to show that kind of data. How we want to show it and how we want to act on it is definitely an operational between the mayor and the directors and how we want to do that. So it's a very good question. We have the power to do it. It's whether or not how we act on that data is. I mean, the possibilities are there.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you. I really, I want to say thank you once again to Thomas and your team and Stacy and Bill. For I'm sorry, not Bill. Tyler. In my office, Tyler Hemstreet. It's been a lot of work, and I think the key thing is I want people to know that we respond every day to CARs, what we call citizen action requests, And what this will, I think the key thing to keep in mind is this is really going to streamline that process. We do a lot of this right now. We do this right now, but what we don't have is that streamline and really, meticulously, have these automated responses in. And I think this is really going to elevate our game and make sure that we've got a much cleaner city. So with that, Councilmember Moore, then Council President Honda.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. I forgot to put down my hand.
Oh, okay. Council President Honda.
Thank you. Thomas, I didn't see on the list of things that people could click on. Is there something that people could click on to send an email to the city clerk, mayor, and council to make it easier for them?
I don't. That could be something. Email is a generic way. I don't think that's on the main page. The intent is to try and categorize it because that's really where the power is.
Okay.
So there's going to be a lot of different categories based on different types of questions or concerns or requests. So I don't know if I'm answering your question the way that you intended me to, but I guess a general email that just blasts out to the city council and the clerk and office, it's going to kind of just leave things open-ended and really kind of disjoint, because they might be like, okay, well, I'm just going to notify everybody about this pothole,
Right.
instead of actually getting it to the staff that need to know that. So I think that's where...
Which, Thomas, is kind of what happens now. What happens now is that somehow someone in the system gets an email. Oftentimes it's me. Oftentimes it's a council member, or they'll email the entire council about a concern, or somebody, or I'll notice something around town, or somebody will know, and then we'll direct it either to CD. We'll do the internal. Often, what I do as mayor is I'll see this, and then I frequently daily placed in the position of saying, okay, I'm going to give this because it's public works, it's in the right of way. I'm going to give it to public works, we'll take care of it. If it's police, I give it to police. If it's CD, if it's on someone's personal property. So I make sort of that calculation right now, and I divvy those out. This is really going to automate that process where it's just going to automatically go where it needs to go.
Okay, I guess, Thomas, I'll clarify more later with what I'm trying to get to here.
Okay.
It isn't about a complaint that, like a pothole. It's about a general email that they want the council, the mayor, and the city clerk to have. So
I'm probably remiss. I shouldn't really be talking about this because it's kind of a phase 2 component. There is another citizen engagement piece to this whole puzzle. A company called Civic Plus bought ClickFix. Civic Plus is very active, and they have a lot of customers in the website space. So that was how they got their start. There is a CP Connect or engagement portal that links text messages and emails and all kinds of stuff together in kind of that engagement piece. The push was the app. The push is to get the CRM component up, and so I think it might be worthwhile, taking a look at that a little bit further. That is going to be something that we kind of visited later next year, so that way we can kind of figure out how staff can work. Because if we change too many pieces of the process at one time, we're touching a lot as it is. Then it gets really complex, convoluted, and takes a lot more time. So we're really focused on getting the app out. But that process, that other feature that we have access to might actually be what you're looking for.
Okay, thank you.
So I'd be happy to kind of show you that as well.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next item, which is item B, Mayor's Emerging Issues and Report. With regard to CARES Act distribution to restaurants and the Shop Local campaign, before I turn it over to Bill Vadino, I just want to say how proud I am of our, Tim Johnson, Economic Development, and Pam in my office, and Kathy as well, Kathy Horn, Pam Jones, Tim Johnson, Bill Vadino. just about. I want to let everybody know that once the governor decided to close, close in restaurant dining, and just a few weeks ago, we all became very concerned here at the city about the impact that this would have on our small businesses and our restaurants in particular. And we had at that point, I would say, quite a bit, about $500,000 left of CARES Act money out of the original $4.4 million in two separate waves of distributions that had been given to us. We had about $500,000 available. I want to let everybody know that within 1 week, we got out $400,000 in aid to over 80 restaurants in our town. These restaurants had been previously given CARES Act distributions in the amount of $1,000 or $2,000 earlier this year. We've given out, hundreds of these grants, CARES Act grants, through the support and approval by the City Council, and as monitored and reimbursed by the State Department of Commerce. So we'd given out, we were approaching a $900,000 figure in regard to two separate waves of grants that we had given out to our local businesses. But once this most recent closure started, within a week, we got out 82, at last count, I think it was 82, revised contracts of CARES Act that we were able to get out in about 5 days, those grants. So I want to say thank you once again to that. It's an amazing pivot, and I couldn't believe how fast we got that distributed. Probably because we had already those contracts in place. So we've got all kinds of things we're working on right now, one of which is a shop local, eat local program that I want to turn over to Bill Vedino. Bill actually has experience on the east side with the Chambers of Commerce. He actually ran the Kirkland Chamber, the East Side Chamber, for a few years ago. And he's just the right person to help us, along with our venerable Greater Federal Way Chamber of Commerce and our Economic Development Director. So, and frankly, Bill, I look forward to you telling them about it. And I want everybody to know that on Thanksgiving Day, I literally had to tell Bill not to put out signs on Christmas Day, but many of the signs, all of the signs you see around town, for the Shop Local campaign, the 2-foot by 3-foot signs, were coordinated. The purchasing of the signs were through a local company here in town that Bill will talk about, and member of the Chamber of Commerce. And Bill constructed those signs and then placed those signs with the help of some folks, and we got all those out, about 52 of them. But Bill, I don't want to take too much of your presentation.
And they're not backwards. They're not backwards like you see behind me. So they're you've seen the 52 around town.
All right.
And I never disobey the mayor, so didn't go out and put out the signs until midnight Eastern Standard Time. So I did not do them on Thanksgiving. But we felt it was important that when the sun rose on Black Friday, that the signs are out, and about 36 were out. We need to begin by acknowledging that back in COVID spring, our partner, the Greater Federal Way Chamber of Commerce, said, we really need to do this. And as the mayor will attest in a day, they tried to figure out a way that it could be funded through, 501c3 with the CARES Act money. And then we ended up going into aid and all the packages for the businesses. And then later at the First Business Resiliency Task Force, Susie Green from Three Trees Yoga, and seconded by Don Johnson of Fast Science, said, we really should do what was done in Kirkland back in the 2010, and they heard that Kirkland was planning. And so there it was sort of on my mental front burner, but we were going through the summer in the middle of the pandemic trying to figure things out. And then frankly, once Governor Inslee, right before Governor Inslee basically made restaurants, you couldn't be in there anymore. I had another get together with both Susie Swizzo and Susie Green from Three Trees Yoga saying, well, if this was to be done, what would you do? And then a few days later, the restaurants came down. So the mayor and I talked Monday after the restaurants were no longer able to have people in their restaurants, and said, well, what can we do? And over the next couple of days, we tried to figure out, what can we do it for? What kind of program? We talked to the chamber on Wednesday. And then basically, for some reason, this isn't moving forward. There we go. We basically put together Thomas did an incredible job in 12 months. We're doing the best we can with 12 days. So we came up with the logo thanks to Steve Heiserman, got the signs through, Don Johnson with CARES Act money. There's two of our other people, aside from Becca, who have been just sort of like pushing the idea, trying to get us to where we need to go. The 52 signs are out. We worked with Cindy Dusich to get our first of many ads in the Mirror. And basically, this works on the level of, number one, when you see the signs, you see shop local. And the number one psychological need is, as they're driving, as they're reading the paper, they need to think, can I get this in town? As I'm driving out of town, can I get it on town? If I see something online, can I get it on town? And so the campaign encourages people to order from their restaurants, retailers. We encourage them to shop line or over the phone with them, because it is a pandemic. Buy a gift card for later to get them through the cash flow, buy a gift card for the holidays, or just buy a gift card in general because a lot of people can't get out. And then share on social media and leave a review about, our local businesses to encourage people and make them aware. And then, of course, in that first ad, we let people know, as we are now continuing to do, to let people know that we are building shoplocalfederalway.com. It's also connected to Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and that people need to register. So we're in the process of working on that. And when you log on to the website, this is what you see now. And the key thing for anybody that is on the upper right-hand corner. We need to get our businesses to add their listings. Now, what we are doing every day is we're adding the restaurants, and hopefully we should be done with that by the end of tomorrow, and then other key local businesses. But the goal is to get all the businesses to put their destinies in their own hands so they can put the right photo and the right description, because the search bar you see towards the bottom, it's searchable. And we're already getting lots of comments. One thing we're going to institute is something where people can know about delivery and pickup, drive-through pickup. So that's accessible as you land on this website as well, too. And then, of course, as you scroll down, you see featured listings. And then, of course, there's categories, much like we saw on SeeClickFix, but we're also adding more and more, because this website, we can just do whatever we want as we go along. It also, from the very beginning, connected to, on the left, you see the Twitter page, you see on the top the Facebook page, and then, of course, the Instagram page. And that's where we're going to start sharing all the stories and all the specials, all the great things about the people. For instance, like there's an employee here in Public Works, and her family has a farm that does organic turkeys. Well, guess what? They're sold at Marlene's. Well, that's a great story. Three Trees Yogurt has free classes for BIPOC folks. So there's just lots of great stories about our community. Now, as you as a consul and everybody watching on TV, encourage people to sign up. Take a look at this graph real quick. On the top, you see in the upper right-hand corner, add your listing. Then go to the left, you register, go to the right, sign in, select the category, you add your details, which are searchable. You look at the example of the listing to make sure you did everything you needed to do, submit entry. So we're making this as easy as possible. Like I said, we're doing it for people as well, but we also want people to take a hand in affecting their destiny. So once again, I want to thank this grassroots approach. It was the chamber. It was, two viable businesses on the Business Resiliency Task Force. So thanks to them. And then this now is a work in progress. And so any of your suggestions are viable. Any stories, anything we can promote, anything to make this more effective, because it is about COVID. It's not about Black Friday. It's not about the holidays. This is about getting everybody through and beyond the new post-COVID economy. So anyway, it's been fun to do. Questions?
Right. And thank you, Bill. I want to say we launched this after in conjunction with our restaurant community after we got I'd say we had about 46 on the on the Zoom call 2 weeks ago, and we had, I believe, both Council President Honda and Council Member Asefa Dawson, and I believe Council Member Moore was on that call as well. It was a great opportunity to talk to our restaurateurs and let them know, and actually get some suggestions. We rolled this out. We're getting some suggestions on that as well. So, with that, Council President Honda, do you have a question?
I do. Thank you, Bill, and staff for working on this. It is a great idea. I'd like to see it continue after the pandemic is over, because we always need to support our local businesses and trying to get people to stay in Federal Way and shop and eat instead of leaving town. I'm wondering if we could also include groups like the Federal Way Symphony or some of the performing groups or even nonprofits in.
Yep.
Yeah,
in
definitely.
This.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
All the nonprofits are going to be in there as well too.
Great idea.
Awesome.
Yeah, we've been working on that.
I think some have already registered, in fact. So no, but it's everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And some nonprofits and social advocacy groups, and we were really working on. This is really something that we can all link up arms and move ahead on.
Yep.
Okay,
I do need to mention that Lynn from the Federal Way Black Collective, and there's other organizations that really want to push this out to get their businesses visibility as well too. So it's a great platform.
Very good. Okay, thank you. Okay, Councilmember Asefa Dawson.
Actually, Council President Susan Honda asked my question for me, but I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you. It looks beautiful. And yeah, that was really my question. And also do support the idea of continuing the service for our Federal Way people would be perfect. So thank you so much. Thank you, Bill, for their presentation and for the hard work.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys, it was really funny. I took Ben and Wendy for a car ride just to get out of the house on Friday and drive around. And we were out looking at all the signs, and all the locations. Because
well, we know your traffic pattern, so we set them up first.
Yeah, they're all over town. So great job, Bill. Thank you so much. Okay, and thank you for the fast signs. They were fast in this process. Don Johnson and his crew was just really spot on. And, they actually helped us with the Juneteenth flag as well. So they've been great partners in this year. And once again, they're a big chamber member. And I want to thank Becca. Becca, she's been really working hard on behalf of the chamber and our local businesses. And Council President Honda has it exactly right. We need to make sure that it's not just about COVID, it's about making sure that our businesses thrive. So thank you. Okay. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I just heard from our web designer, and we're looking into the Instagram tool where it has translation on it. And
right.
So we're trying to see if there's a widget so that maybe what Councilmember Kraft mentioned about the last website might be easily adaptable to this, at least for some copy. So we'll see.
Very good. Okay. We need to move on to our next item. Thank you, Bill. All right, now commerce. Excuse me. Yes. 1 second. Commerce Shelter Grant Update. Sarah Bridgeford, Community Services Manager. Welcome, Sarah.
Good evening. I'm providing an update on the Commerce Grant for shelters. This was a grant opportunity that came to City Council in June. Council discussed the opportunity. Cities that have populations over 20,000 were eligible to apply for funds independently, but there was a bonus for a collaborative application. So essentially, if cities signed on to the county application, we would have access to 100% of the funds versus 80. So in King County, there were 17 cities that were eligible to apply for those funds, and all 17 did sign on, allowing King County to apply for funds for the full county. The funding is specifically for adding shelter capacity by adding shelter beds. Projects are funded throughout King County, and it's anticipated that about 50 beds will be added in South King. At the time of application, no location had been secured or would be ready to go by December, so the initial plan is for hoteling in South King County. King County has a team that works on siting shelters and other services. One location that has come up is the Red Lion in the city of Federal Way. King County reached out to the city to see if there was general support for this potential project site. We've had discussions with Mayor Farrell and email communication and a couple phone calls with city council members as well. And there is general support for the site. The project is not final. There are a number of steps that need to occur before it becomes reality. So I'm presenting tonight to provide information on what the scope may be and share anticipated next steps. Again, this could change by the time any shelter is sited. It may not be at the Red Lion, but this is to provide that update to you. The hotel model has been used in response to COVID in order to reduce the risk of the spread of COVID as well as complications. People experiencing homelessness are often at higher risk for complications. Congregate shelters present a higher risk for spread of COVID-19. The hotel model has shown success in other locations with higher access for long-term housing as well as access of other services. There's some key differences between this project potentially being sited in the city of Federal Way compared to some others that you may hear about. Renton, for instance, and SeaTac is the other. SeaTac is where Reach Out was moved to in April. We know that there are difficulties in one of those locations, and you may have heard about that in the news recently. Some of the key differences between those models and the potential model at the Red Lion would be this is almost a one-for-one replacement of Reach Out. All shelter services are regional. Reach Out had a capacity of around 45. What we would anticipate at the Red Lion would probably be about 46, maybe a little bit less. So it wouldn't feel very different for the city. It would be a comparable number of beds. Of course, it's regional, meaning we would expect to see people from throughout South King County access this shelter, just as we do with any other shelter. Another difference is this would not be leasing the entire hotel. In the other two examples, King County leases the entire hotel. In this case, it would be renting a block of rooms, just like somebody coming in and accessing the hotel in other times. Catholic Community Services, who is the likely provider, already leases rooms throughout King County for different programs to serve people who are experiencing homelessness. So this would feel very similar to that. There would be staffing involved as well. I would say that this isn't to say that there may not be issues. Homelessness is caused by a number of factors, and regardless of the cause, people experiencing homelessness are in crisis. We see people, especially in our single adult shelters, who have mental health issues and substance use disorders as well. Shelter is essential, and the longer term interaction with staff is more likely to lead to people accessing essential services that move them to housing. No shelter will be without issues, but they do provide critical service for people in our community. So again, the project is not final. King County has some work to do with Catholic Community Services, with negotiating with the Red Lion, as well as checking in with other South King cities. While the project will develop quickly, we don't have all the details available, such as how long the shelter beds may be rented there, or the final number. The funding from Commerce is through June of 2023, but again, that doesn't mean that an agreement reached with the hotel would necessarily provide shelter through June of 2023. It may be a shorter period. There may be a secondary site that comes into play later on. I'll share those details with you as they become available, as well as any other changes that occur. And then just one last comment is that while a hotel like the Red Lion could be considered for acquisition and a longer term shelter, which we've brought up to City Council, this project is at this point really for a shorter term project with the Commerce funding. The city will be involved in siting any longer term or permanent shelter for adults. We'll continue to provide updates on this project as well as any potential long-term shelter projects. And I would be happy to answer any questions that you have.
All right. Council, any questions? Okay. Thank you, Sarah. Great job. Okay, now moving on to the next item. A reminder that pursuant to council rules that were passed earlier this year and what has been the practice going back when, at least 15 years, 16 years that I'm aware of, and long before that, We normally cancel the second meeting in December, the second council meeting in December, give people, council and staff the opportunity to be able to reliably plan for taking time off during the holiday. So there will be no second meeting in December pursuant to council rule. That meeting will not occur, but be looking for. It looks like we are going to have another meeting if we can get everybody on the same page regarding a good date and time for our legislative breakfast. We've got a new legislator who will be joining us, and we've got our senator and 2 representatives that are ready to sit down with us. We'll need to do that via Zoom. It would be best if we could do it in December. So we're looking for dates likely next week in order to conduct that meeting. And obviously we have the legislative agenda later on, and perhaps we could talk about that then. Okay, let's see here. We had a Facebook town. I had a Facebook town hall meeting on November 19th. Very productive. A lot of great questions. You know what's always amazing, you guys, is it is truly amazing how fast an hour goes in one of those things, because, you know, maybe it's because I'm just talking continuously, but it was great. We had a couple hundred people involved, and it really is a great opportunity. We had staff available via Zoom, and just a lot of great questions, and it's really what government is about. So thank you, and it was really gratifying to hear from our fellow neighbors. Okay, downtown holiday decorations and tree. As many of you have seen, we have we couldn't get together for the tree lighting because of COVID, but our tree, which we took a picture of and I sent it to council and management team. This is what our beautiful, beautiful tree looked like last Wednesday. I'd like to thank the Parks Department for their lighting of the tree. That's the moon in the background. Isn't that beautiful? Anyway, it's just it's a great thing to be able to have that tree, and we've also done some lighting at the covered areas over at the Town Square Park. And then we also have, thanks to our Public Works Department, the snowflake pictures. And if you could maybe scroll through those, I think there are a few of them. And, you know, this came from an idea. EJ, who was the name of your employee who came up with the idea of doing this?
So this was the brainchild of one of our employees named Brian Liebeck. And he took the lead on getting this. And this has been a cost savings effort for the city. So, you know, we can do this faster and more cost efficiently than what we did previously. And it looks better too.
Yeah, it's great. It's beautiful. So thank you so much, EJ, for you and your crew who put those up, and just looks really beautiful and festive for the holiday season. Okay, Council, that concludes my report. Let's turn it over now to Council Committee reports. We've got the Parks, Recreation, Human Services, and Public Safety Committee, and that's Councilmember Kochmar.
Thank you, Mayor. No report. We've canceled our December meeting.
All right. Thank you very much. Councilmember Baruso for Land Use.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have 2 ordinances for second reading on our agenda today. Item B, item C. Item B, Council Bill 790, Ordinance Transportation Impact Fee Code Amendment. And item C, Council Bill 791, Ordinance Federal Way Link Extension Alteration Number 1. And our next meeting is December 7th at 5 o'clock via Zoom. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. Boy, you guys are so efficient today. Councilmember Tran for FedRec, Finance, and everything else.
I can't follow that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So our committee met, and we have 2 items on the consent agenda today. The vouchers for October 2020, and then monthly financial report for October 2020. We also have a presentation from Deputy Chief Neal regarding the police overtime. And that was one of the highlights of our meetings, and it was very informative. So thank you, Chief Wang, and thank you, Deputy Chief Neal, for that information. I also want to take this opportunity to correct some of the misinformation out there on social media, and that is our committee or council never have any plan or talk about the defunding the police department. So there are some people in the community that put out that misinformation on social media for whatever purpose that I don't know. But I'm here to share with the community that my committee did not, will not talk about defunding the police department. So you can rest assured that that is not going to happen. So so that's something that I want to share with you. Also, our next meeting, which was scheduled for October, is now canceled because we want staff to have the time to spend with their family. So with that, I conclude my report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. And I don't know if you saw my email that was in response to that, just making sure that everybody knows that the council actually not only didn't defund the officers, at least in regard to where we're at in the budget, and we've got second reading on for tonight, but at first reading, if all indications are correct, it'll go through at second reading to add 3 officers to take us to a historic high of 137. So, I think sometimes information gets out there, and I think, Councilor Tran, I think that's really important. So I think what we can do is just get that information back out and let people know, what's reality and what's rumor. So anyway, thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Okay. And now we have a Lodging Tax Advisory Committee, and that is Councilmember Assefa Dawson.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say at the last meeting, I misspoke and said that our next meeting was going to be December 9th, which is still the case, but we actually did have a meeting the following day on the 18th, which I skipped over. But we do have a meeting scheduled for December 9th, currently, our regularly scheduled meeting. However, we may not have a quorum due to vacancies that we have. So we just see how things go and determine whether or not we have a meeting on that date. We do have a few people who have stepped down from the committee, but then there are some amazing candidates in the hospitality industry who are applying for the positions and are interested in joining the committee. So we're looking forward to looking at those applications and move forward with that. So right now, again, our next regularly scheduled meeting is for December 9th, and we'll see whether or not we do have it, depending on quorum. And with that, I conclude my report. And thank you so much.
All right, thank you. All right, and now we've got a regional committee report for the Public Issues Committee, and that is Councilmember Moore.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. Shout out to Councilmember Assefa Dawson for attending in my presence. She is the other alternate member to that wonderful committee. Our next Public Issues Committee meeting will be on the 9th of December from 7 to 9 p.m. and we'll be meeting over Zoom. Thank you.
Great. All right, Council President report.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Police Chief Andy Wong for taking time to meet with each and every council member about the SCORE issue. And he spent considerable time talking with us and answering any questions and addressing the concerns that council members had. And I'd like to thank him very much for doing that. I'd also encourage people to visit the City Council Facebook page. We keep that updated, and we put a lot of good information on there that doesn't always have to do with City Council. For instance, today we put information up there about waste management and the programs that waste management has for our residents here in Federal Way. So please take a look at that. On November 19th, I attended the King County Board of Health meeting, and we had some good discussions about the pandemic and the vaccine that's coming out. and the response that King County will have. So it's still kind of all in flux about how the vaccine will be given in King County, but they are working really hard to figure out who's going to be giving it and who will be able to actually get the vaccine in the very first. Our December Board of Health meeting is canceled. And on the 20th was the Sound Cities Association legislative update. Our very own Jesse Johnson was there and gave some really good reports about the legislature. And I heard great comments about the work he's doing down in Olympia. And I'd also like to thank our residents for communicating with us. We do really appreciate hearing from you and hearing about your concerns, and keep it up, because it's always great to get emails from our citizens. And I mean, even if you're not happy with us, we still want to hear from you, because we work for you, as the mayor always says, and we do need to hear from you. So we do appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President Honda. Yes, actually, that reminds me with regard to Patty Hayes. Boy, she works really hard. You remember her first week? We actually got to hear from Patty Hayes her very first week on the job, when we were able to come together and save the public health facility here in town. We actually, the SCA mayors today met with Director Hayes, talking about a lot of these issues as well. So she's out there working. She had just come from another meeting, and Deanna and Deanna Dawson with SCA was moderating this discussion and really talking about how they're going to, as you were talking about, how they're going to get the the vaccines out, what that looks like, but it is really interesting just to hear the data and actually just see the charts about where we're at right now in what is really this third wave of infections. And in fact, what people are really concerned about now, obviously, is the surge on top of the surge from the Thanksgiving Day holiday. So that we were taking a look. In fact, actually, I think we had like 584 cases in the past 14 days here in the city of Federal Way, and in they were just talking about it. It almost looks like in this third wave that you've got the peak for the third wave, where we're at right now, right in the middle of, is bigger than the first two waves stacked on top of each other. And because the first peak was on April 1st, 197 cases during a 7-day period. The second peak was on July 25th at 195 cases in a 7-day window. The third peak was about 732 cases on 11/24. At 11/29, I think there were 651 cases. This is countywide. So we are really, truly experiencing a major surge. And the total number of deaths in our community is 46, which is just tragic, obviously, and it's just a really tragic circumstance. We've had 3,500 people in our community get COVID. I want to thank our emergency manager, Ray Gross, who's on the in communication with the state and King County authorities, and everything is being done to do everything we can to make sure our community is safe, and we socially distance, and we encourage mask wearing and all that. So I think but the numbers are really concerning. So we'll keep you updated on that, and I think we get those out on the website and continue to press that information. Okay, thank you, Council. Now, most important part of the evening is public comment. Stephanie?
Yes, Mayor. I do not have anyone signed up for general comment, but I do have quite a few letters to read.
Okay.
Can we go ahead and start?
Yes, please.
All right, first one. Federal Way City Council Sound Outreach would like to submit the following statement for the City Council meeting on December 1st. Sound Outreach provides an ongoing one-on-one financial coaching relationship that helps Federal Way residents set goals, learn budgeting skills, access community resources, and overall build financial literacy and capacity for a sustainable path forward. As a recipient of Federal Way CARES Act funding, Sound Outreach is pleased to know that the City of Federal Way understands that the journey to financial stability in the face of a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic takes more than handouts. Since we began this work in late October, we have seen the demand for our services, with both individuals and community-based organizations asking to meet with us to learn more. We are well on our way of meeting the goal of working with 60 to 100 individuals and families in the city and are excited about the potential to continue to work into the new year with CDBG funding. Rather than a single touch point, this will allow residents to meet their financial coach multiple times as the progress is made and setbacks are experienced. The road to financial health is long and winding, but we look forward to the opportunity to traveling it with them. We thank you for the CARES Act funding we have already received, which makes our current work possible, and we are grateful for the opportunity to apply for CDBG funding that would continue to advance the work in the face of the economic crisis that does not appear to be abating anytime soon. James Taylor, Director of Financial Counseling, Sound Outreach. Next letter reads, Dear Council members, my name is Scott Chase and I've lived in Fudge Way for 33 years. I'm concerned about the recent upward trend in crime in our area as recently described by both the King County prosecutor and the police chief. I am also concerned over the possibility of crime getting even worse after this pandemic is over. The November 20th article in the Mirror did an excellent job of summarizing the need for 3 beds at the SCORE jail. Police Chief Andy Wong has made a compelling case for this additional resource. I want you to know that I fully support the Federal Police Department as well as the Police Chief's request for 3 beds at the SCORE jail. I encourage the City Council to approve the funds and fund this much needed jail contract. Thank you, Scott Chase. Next letter. My name is Mary Herman, and I've lived in Fudge Way for 4 years after moving out of South Seattle. I have seen an increase in criminal activity in this area for the past 4 years and fully support our police chief department in their request for 3 more beds to be made available at the SCORE jail. I think things are not going to get better due to the people who are out of work or unable to work and are getting desperate to survive and take care of their families. We cannot afford to turn our backs and allow citizens to have their homes, cars, mail be broken into and or robbed. The homeless population is exploding and they have nothing to lose at this point, so don't seem to have any fear of consequences for their criminal actions. There's a need to keep the habitual criminals in jail and not let them roam our streets. Due to this increase, I would ask the City Council give serious consideration to the request for funding of the 3 extra beds. Thank you, Mary Herman. Dear City Council members, my name is Sheree Ashcroft and I've lived in Fudge Way for 50 years. I'm noticing an upward trend in our crime in our area and recently described by both the King County prosecutor and Chief Wong. I'm concerned over the possibility of crime getting even worse as this pandemic continues. We already have no control over criminals, so making space for the more violent is important. The Fudge Way Police Department needs our support, and I agree with the police chief's request for 3 beds at SCORE jail. I respectfully ask the City Council to approve the funds and fund this much needed jail contract. Thank you, Sheree Ashcroft. 2 City Council members, subject agenda item 7A, jail services contract, SCORE jail. I'm concerned about the recent upward trend in crime in South King County and Fudge Way. I fully support the Fudge Way Police Department, Andy Wong's request for 3 beds at the SCORE jail. I encourage the City Council to approve and fund this much needed jail contract. Respectfully, Dana Holloway, Fudge Way, 98023. Dear City Council members, my name is Rachel Musgrove and I've lived in Fudge Way for 16 years. I've raised my children here and hope that with your continued leadership, they will want to raise their children here as well. However, the recent increase in crime here, as described by both the King County prosecutor and police chief, concerned me. Their testimonies only confirm what we have witnessed. The degradation of our community, the increase in public drug use, and now commonplace thefts that occur at our businesses and grocery stores. Our vehicles are getting stolen and broken into, armed robberies of our businesses and community members, and the increase in the number of people living in our wooded areas. When will it stop? I want you to know that I fully support the police department as well as the police chief's request for 3 beds at SCORE jail. Please approve and fund this much needed jail contract. So many call Fudge Way home and we need your help. Thank you, Rachel Musgrove. Dear City Council members, my name is Dave Margell and I live and have owned my own home in Fudge Way for 39 years. I own a business here as well. I'm concerned about the increase in crime in our area as it has been confirmed recently by both the King County prosecutor and the police chief. I'm also concerned that crime is getting worse until we take action now. I own a used vehicle sales and service business on Pacific Highway South and I see increasing numbers of people breaking windows, stealing catalytic converters, stereos, etc. If it continues, I'll be forced to move out to a more secure city. I support the Fudge Way Police Department and the police chief's request for 3 beds at the SCORE jail. I encourage the City Council to approve and fund this much needed jail contract. Please, Dave McGarrell. Dear City Council members, our names are Ken and Marie Gage. We have owned and lived in our home in Fudge Way for 42 years. I'm highly concerned about the recent upward trend in crime in our area as recently described by both King County prosecutor and police chief. We are also concerned about the real possibility of crime getting even worse after this pandemic is over. We want you to know that we fully support the Federal Police Department as well as the police chief's request for 3 beds at the SCORE jail and encourage the city to approve and fund this much needed jail contract. Thank you, Ken and Marie Gage. Dear Council, I would like to express my support for a new contract with SCORE jail and would guarantee 3 inmate beds. My hope is that those voting tonight have researched the issue since the last City Council meeting and have realized that we have a much bigger issues with our mental health care system and that the jails are struggling with. Aside from this issue, we need to be able to get more people to get We need to be able to get people who are arrested for driving under the influence off the streets, and we need to guarantee beds locally to do so. Since the jail is close to our city, this would allow our officers to more efficiently address this need. Since COVID has impacted jail space at other jails, we need more options to keep the public safe. With King County costing significantly more per night and considering closing one of their jails, along with the limited bed space in other jails due to COVID, we must have more options. Sincerely, Anna Patrick. My name is Grace Lubrano, and I've been a resident of Federal Way for approximately 19 years. I've watched the crime elevate with no response. I support our police chief with wanting more police, more than the 3 I keep hearing about that we'll hire. I also support Andy Wong and wanting to secure 3 jail beds. I fully support the Federal Way Police Department with whatever they have to do to work more effectively in these challenging times and working in this dangerous city. This is the last letter I have, Mayor. Dear Council members, my name is Michelle Haglum, and I've lived in Federal Way for 30 years. I'm concerned about the extreme upward trend in crime in our area as recently described by the King County prosecutor and the police chief. I'm concerned over crime getting even worse after this pandemic is over. I want you to know that I fully support the Federal Way Police Department as well as the police chief's request for 3 beds at the SCORE jail. I encourage the City Council to approve and fund this much needed jail contract. Thank you, Michelle Haglum. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay. No one's on the line?
No, sorry. I don't have anybody signed up for citizen comment.
Okay. Very good. Thank you very much. Okay. We've got we'll move on now to the consent agenda. These items have gone through committee and can be heard, but we only have 3 items today. Item 5, consent agenda. Item A, minutes for the November 17th regular and special meetings. Item B, vouchers for the October 2020. Item C, monthly financial report October 2020. Council, would any of you want to pull the items, one of the items for separate consideration? Okay, hearing none. Council President Honda, do you have a motion?
I move approval of items A through C on the consent agenda.
Second.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, matters passed unanimously. Okay, item 6, public hearing. Third amendment to the 2019 Cdbg Annual Action Plan. I'll now open the public hearing. We'll have a staff presentation by Sarah Bridgeford, our Community Services Manager, public comment, and then council discussion action. So, Sarah, the floor is yours. And Council President Honda, your hand is up. Did you mean to have that up?
No, boy, I owe you a lot of money.
My glass is full. Empty. I'll send Bill right over. Okay, Sarah. Hello. Is Sarah still on the line? There she is. Sarah?
Yeah, Mayor, I see that she's still on the line, but she is not.
Sorry, it was not letting me unmute.
All right.
I clicked, so I apologize about that.
You had me worried there for about 10 seconds.
Oh, me too.
Bueller.
Let me go ahead and share my screen.
All right.
And then I will get started.
That's good, Mr. Mayor. That was good.
Thank you. I had Ben. Oh, never mind. I won't. I finally had Ben watch that movie. We're anyway.
Classic.
Gone through all the old 80 movies. Yes.
So this evening, I'm going to be presenting on the third amendment to the 2019 annual action plan. This amendment will incorporate the additional funds that the city has received to respond to COVID-19. The policy question before you is, should City Council approve the third amendment to the 2019 Community Development Block Grant Cdbg Annual Action Plan? The city has received an additional $667,660 in Cdbg CV funds for a total of $1,100,182 in Cdbg funding, specifically to prevent, prepare for, and respond to COVID-19. Like all Cdbg funds, these funds must support low and moderate income residents and have a documented connection to COVID-19. The COVID-19 connection is specific to the CV funds. As mentioned, the third amendment is adding that additional allocation. It outlines the projects that are being proposed for funding and that are before council this evening for consideration. Proposals were solicited in October in response to notice of funds available. The Human Services Commission reviewed and evaluated the proposals to make the recommendations for funding for projects. The Human Services Commission voted 7-0 with 1 abstention in support of fully funding all the projects, as there was sufficient funding to do so. The proposed projects address homelessness and housing stability, childcare for school-aged children, and financial recovery. Catholic Community Services submitted 2 applications to address adult homelessness and to do so safely in light of COVID-19, or as safely as possible. The first project is for the expanded day center hours. It's added 18 hours per week, as it has since April. It provides additional staffing needed throughout the day for cleaning protocols and additional engagement with clients. This still leaves gaps for individuals experiencing homelessness who are limited in accessing places to meet basic needs. So this expansion is a priority for continuation. The second project is for Reach Out. While Reach Out is not in the City of Federal Way at this time because congregate shelters are higher risk, this does continue to support the movement of those Reach Out beds to other locations and the staffing to carry out those services. The next 2 projects are on housing stability, again with Catholic Community Services as the application or the applicant. The first project is for rent assistance in the amount of $121,000. This added with the $400,000 that was awarded to the multi-service center in the first and second amendments to the 2019 plan, and the $500,000 through El Centro de la Raza brings the cumulative rent assistance funding to over $1 million through the City of Federal Way. The second program on this slide is both for housing stability as well as addressing homelessness. It's a diversion program which is designed to prevent people from going into homeless service systems. So ideally, you're helping people before they go into shelter or longer term homeless housing programs. It provides move-in assistance and some short-term rent assistance. And the final 2 projects address childcare. The Boys and Girls Club is continuing to provide full-day childcare to school-aged children. They've been doing this since COVID-19 started and with the closure of schools. These funds support specifically low and moderate income students in Federal Way. They have access to youth development, academic and social emotional supports. And that project is expected to continue at least through the end of the year and potentially longer. South Sound Outreach, known as Sound Outreach, applied for a 2-year program for financial stability. There was a comment during public comments from James Taylor. It is likely connected to this project as they applied for these funds. The city tends to see most of our applications addressing basic needs, which is essential and something that we support strongly. This project is about taking that next step, so helping our residents address their current and future stability and financial growth. The program is established. Sound Outreach is primarily in Pierce County. They have had a project in South King County with community colleges. This would be another expansion of that program. they have found that they have the best outcomes with longer engagement, hence the 2-year project period. Just a note on our timeline, we are hopeful that if Council approves the proposed projects, that we will have HUD approval and be able to enter into contracts in early January 2021. The general period of performance will be sooner, some will be by June, some may go as late as December of 2021, and then sound outreach for the financial counseling, since there are people that they'll engage earlier on and it's about a 2-year program. Their period of performance will be a little bit longer. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, Council President Honda.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah, for your work on this, and to the Human Services Commission. For when the eviction moratorium ends, do we know how many people in Federal Way that will be affected by that, and who may have not be able to stay in their homes due to lack of money?
We don't know. We don't have good data. There was some early on with the Household Pulse Survey. It changed after that first period. The Household Pulse Survey was through the U.S. Census. And then the Washington Multifamily Housing Association is also tracking that. They're one of the larger associations for larger landlords. And they were seeing pretty consistently about 5% not paying full rent, 5% of tenants not paying full rent. With that, we would anticipate you seeing something similar. Some positive, although again, it doesn't address it all. El Centro de la Raza did note that a lot of the people who were coming in for rent assistance with that $500,000 had paid partial rent. So the amounts varied greatly, but it means that people are doing everything, most people are doing everything that they can to stay up on that. There are some provisions that are likely to be in place after the eviction moratorium ends that have to do with payment plans and mediation before evictions can occur. We don't know all, I don't know all the details on what that would look like. As they become available, we'll share them. But I do think that it's good for us to be aware and concerned about the potential that happens, because even if it's 1% of renters in Federal Way, that's 150 households. That it's more than we can adequately serve if they have to leave their houses and find other housing, access homeless services. That would be a pretty significant increase. And we don't know the number, but we will try to do everything that we can by continuing to provide rent assistance and other services.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. Council Member Asefa Dawson.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Sarah. I just wanted to touch on sound outreach, financial counseling, and I, on my with my other job, which is financial education, working with sound outreach also with people. And I think this is something that I'm very interested in, and I believe that our people deserve to have the financial coaching and financial education. And so I hope the 2-year sound outreach funding would give us enough data, enough information for us to continue on this journey and make it as part of our one of the criteria that we continuously fund, because it's really important that people are engaged in this process. And I would also hope that not only the financial coaching part, but I would also hope that our financial institutions participate in supporting our residents, because a lot of these people are either unbanked or underbanked, and hopefully we can engage them in doing whatever it takes to get the people who are going through this financial coaching to also have that support to where they can go to the next level of becoming financially secure. Because we know that a lot of people who are unbanked or underbanked are the ones who end up paying hefty fees on all the transactions that they make. And so I'm really grateful and appreciative of this project. And wanted to say thank you, and I really appreciate that the Human Services Commission saw the need, because I think this is one of the first projects that we have done in this area, outside of all the other projects that we've done. So just wanted to comment on that. And then to follow up with Council President Susan Honda's comment, not knowing what happens after the moratorium, and I don't know if Commerce or anybody's going to have additional funds to help with rental assistance, because we can't afford to see a lot of people being evicted. What are we planning on doing as a contingency plan to support people who could potentially be evicted?
And that is going to be a question that will take a little more effort. I don't have a great plan. We're trying to get as much as we can into rent assistance with that $1 million that the city, including these funds, will have put towards rent assistance, plus the general fund grants that we also provide, doing as much as we can to deploy those funds. We are tracking and being part of conversations that happen around the mediation and the payment plans. It's just been a busy couple of months, but we actually, I need to get back to pursuing those conversations, because I think that that's going to be the mechanism that offers the biggest opportunity for stability, is making sure that the mediation is accessible and realistic for both the landlords and the tenants, and keeping our families and households stable. And since you brought up additional funding, I just wanted to share that there is another funding source that came available, and I asked if we could share it. I need to follow up on that, and if we can't share it, we'll get it out on social media, that there's some additional funding for rent assistance currently through the end of the year, I believe, that can pay past due rent. So we'll continue to push out additional resources as they become available too.
Okay, so I'm actually talking of 2021 and beyond, but when you were talking about mediation, it's my understanding that some landlords are not supporting or going along with the mediation of paying up to 80% and dropping the 20, or whatever that mediation is, and that also concerns me, because some landlords are not going to be willing to do it, and I don't blame them. So fortunately, there's a way to that mediation works on everyone's behalf. So that's very concerning also, because I know there were organizations that were trying to support due to rental assistance, and the landlords were not accepting those funds. So that's also a difficult hurdle to overcome, I think. So yeah, but thank you so much.
And if I may clarify, I think the 80% is specifically to the King County Rent Assistance Program. The mediation in general may not have that provision once the eviction moratorium ends. That was through the King County courts, where they had an order in the summer that said that once that ends, they would require mediation. I don't recall it saying anything about 80% rent, but it's good to know, and I'll take a look at that and see if I can get an answer if that's going to be a requirement.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Council, any other questions? Stephanie, is there any public comment?
Yes, Mayor, we have Cynthia Ricks-Macatan on the line.
Oh, great. Yes, Cynthia.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Wonderful. So I'm Cynthia Ricks-Macatan, and I'm coming to you from two perspectives. One as a resident, and also wearing the hat as a Human Services Commissioner. So first, as a resident, let me just say, I work for CHI Franciscan. We run a youth violence initiative program, and we've been working really, really hard to connect those groups and people who follow and support youth, like communities and school coordinators and family engagement coordinators with the school district and probation officers, nonprofits like Phenomenal She, Progress Pictures, Game of Life, Ambition is Priceless, Brothers About Brothers, all of these organizations that really support youth and are part of the safety net. And I'm just pleased with the way these resources that you all have approved and given to community-based organizations, where we then refer those youth-serving organizations to like El Centro de la Raza and other places to get the link out so that folks know that these resources are available in Federal Way because of the CDBG, CV funding, and for the CARES Act that this city has had. So I just want to thank you all. It really is helping with supporting our families. With respect to wearing a hat, I'm switching hats now as a Human Services Commissioner. I applaud the staff, Sarah and Brittany. They did an excellent job in getting the applications to us, reviewing them. And then my fellow commissioners did a wonderful job of looking at equity and looking at the disproportionate impact that COVID-19 has had on BIPOC communities and marginalized communities, and making sure that the organizations that were submitting funding, that they were addressing that disparity as well. And just reviewing and making sure that we were providing comprehensive services with these funds. So I would, on behalf of the commission, just really thank you all for considering our recommendations, and that if you have any questions about our process and what we did, please feel free to ask, and I will do my best to represent the commission. But staff did an incredible job, and it's very much so needed, these resources. There's a 3 days a week, a feeding program that's done at Phenomenal She, and it's from 3 to 4 from 3 days a week. And they also pass out produce boxes. And when they first started this process at the beginning of the pandemic, usually all the food would be gone within the hour. Today, Isaiah, my son, he goes every week on Tuesdays to volunteer. They started at 3, and by 3:30, they had passed out 100 meals and over 100, I think it was 140 produce boxes. The need is so great in our community, and there was still a line, and we weren't able to help all of them. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Cynthia. Stephanie, any others?
No, Mayor, that's all we have. We only had
Okay.
one person.
All right. Councilmember Kochmar, do you have a motion?
I do. Thank you very much, Mayor. Great job, Sarah, and great job to the Human Services Commission as well. I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
It's been a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, the matter passes unanimously. And now to the main motion. Councilmember Kochmar.
Thank you, Mayor. I move approval of the proposed third amendment to the 2019 Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, Annual Action Plan, and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents to implement the plan and the corresponding funding agreements with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development and subrecipients.
Second.
Second.
A motion and a second, multiple seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the main motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Matter passed unanimously. Thank you. And thank you, Sarah, for all your hard work. And thank you, Cynthia. Okay, council business. Item A, jail services contract, SCORE Jail. We'll have a staff report from our chief, Andy Wong. Chief of Police, that is. Chief?
Yes, Mayor. I'll bring up the presentation here. Right. Good evening, Mayor Farrell, Council President Honda, and members of the council. The police department is seeking council approval this evening to enter into a jail service agreement with SCORE Jail. I'll be making a brief presentation, and we'll answer any questions that you might have. I also wanted to let you know that SCORE Director Devin Shrum is also joining us this evening to answer any questions you might have about the SCORE Jail and the contract. Okay, so the policy question before you is, should the City of Federal Way enter into a jail services contract with SCORE Jail. Federal Way was one of the owner cities of SCORE when it opened back in 2011. At that time, there were 7 owner cities, and we were one of the owner cities. In September 4th, 2018, Council passed a resolution authorizing us to withdraw from SCORE as one of the owner cities. Our decision as a city to leave SCORE was strictly for financial reasons. This resulted in the city entering into several jail service contracts with multiple other jail facilities beginning of January of 2020. So we were an owner city through 2019. Federal Way is completing nearly 1 year of service as a contract jail city. The following are the current jail contracts for inmates, inmate housing option for the city of Federal Way: King County Jail, Kent City Jail, Puyallup City Jail, Issaquah City Jail, and Yakima County Jail. Those are the 5. And this evening, we're asking to add SCORE to our contract jail services, which would make it the 6th city. So here's kind of the breakdown costs that we know for 2021. This is starting in January. King County Jail, the daily maintenance cost is for 1 day of incarceration is $210. Anytime our officer brings a misdemeanor booking into their facility, they charge $149 for booking. So it's just shy of $360 just to walk somebody into King County Jail. So that's the cost for 1 day. Kent City Jail, $150 for a daily maintenance fee, and they have a $35 booking fee every time you bring someone in. The rest of the jails don't have a booking fee in 2021. Puyallup City Jail is $95 a day. Issaquah Jail, $110 a day. Yakima County Jail, $85 a day. And I want to let you know that we're unable to book anyone into Yakima Jail at this time because they're not accepting any outside jurisdiction inmates due to COVID reasons. So there's one restriction right there. And that'll be important as to why signing a contract with SCORE Jail is important for us at giving us flexibility. When we decided to leave SCORE Jail in 2018, our annual jail budget was just over $6.4 million. When we left SCORE, we budgeted 2020 $4.3 million, and we're budgeting the same dollar amount for 2021. So right there is $2.1 million in savings by being a contract city, jail-wise. And being a jail contract city gives a lot of flexibility moving forward in terms of how many guaranteed beds that we want to have versus non-guaranteed beds. Gives us a lot of flexibility in terms of an ability to save jail costs by being a contract jail city. So currently we have 13 guaranteed beds with these jail facilities, and we are proposing as a city to add 3 additional beds at SCORE Jail. Now, guaranteed beds are really important for managing our costs because guaranteed beds are generally lower costs than if they're a non-guaranteed bed. So in the future, our ADP right now is in the mid-20s just because of COVID. But we know that in the previous years, our ADP, range should be around 50 to 70 ADP. So right now we're able to adjust the guaranteed beds just because of what our bed needs are. However, things may change in the future. And this is one of the reasons why we want to diversify and add a SCORE Jail as one of our contract jail cities. In late August, SCORE Jail and Federal PD mutually agreed to explore the feasibility of returning to SCORE as a contract city, not as an owner city, just as a contract city. One of the things why we want to do this, and I mentioned it before, is due to COVID-19. We're constantly at risk of losing or having beds eliminated. For example, Puyallup Jail, we had 3 guaranteed beds, but they reduced it to 1 just because of COVID. So right now we can book 1 person into Puyallup jail. So this could have a significant public safety issue if we run out of space for booking prisoners whom the law requires us to put in jail. So SCORE currently, their offer is lower per bed expense, $128 compared to other jail contracts. Our projected cost for the 3 beds at SCORE is at $175,000. I want to be real clear on this. The police department is not coming to council for new funding or new money for this 3-bed contract. We will be able to use existing jail budget to pay for the $175,000. In fact, entering contract with SCORE will probably save us money. Our jail coordinator does a good job. By getting these 3 beds, he's going to put less people into King County Jail at $360. If we have room at SCORE, we're going to go there first. And there's only 2 jails that are in our neighboring cities. That's in Des Moines, this is where SCORE is located, and City of Kent. Jails are, they're not just everywhere. I mean, obviously having a jail in our neighboring city is very good for us operationally. So no new money from council at all. We're not asking for new money. And as I mentioned, without the contract, we may be compelled to house our inmates at a higher cost at King County Jail if we run out of bed space at other places. This is a very important point that I want to make to the policy group here, is that having a contract with SCORE will enhance our patrol operations because it's in Des Moines. If we were to make a round trip at King County Jail, middle of the night, swing shift hours or early morning hours, it could be a 2.5 hours round trip. SCORE being so close, in our experience, we can have our officer back in our city in maybe 30 to 45 minutes. So what I'm telling you is that when we have a short turnaround, our officers are patrolling our streets sooner, and it's going to reduce emergency response time. So when we have a critical incident, we want every officer that's available that can respond. We don't want our officers hurrying things at downtown Seattle and racing lights and sirens back into our city. Preferably over time, when you're talking about a huge volume of officers working, that equates a lot of patrol hours in our city and reducing our emergency response time when our residents call 911. So I want to really point that out. This jail is logistically the best place that it could be for us. SCORE is a professional, respected, and reputable facility, and ownership is comprised of Auburn, Burien, Des Moines, Renton, SeaTac, and Tukwila. And I can say this with confidence because as a police chief, I served on the ops board for a number of years. And the Mayor Farrell served on the administrative board for many years. So we work with the fellow mayors, police chiefs, Director Shrum. So we know they're a professional organization. For us, we knew when we left SCORE that we were going to lose some efficiency operationally. That was a given. However, we were looking at the financial, looking after our taxpayers. That was going to save us money. So that was really the only reason for leaving. If, as a policy group, if you have any reservations about entering this contract, I want to share with you that there are more than 40 municipalities, including Bellevue, Mercer Island, Kirkland, Everett, Linwood, Puyallup. There are 38 municipal cities in King County. Vast majority of the cities in King County who don't have jail of their own jail have contract with SCORE Jail. So there are many policy elected officials who are making decisions just like yourself tonight. And I can tell you that SCORE contracts with majority of the cities or significant number of the cities in King County, and cities that are even larger than us. SCORE Director Devin Shrum, she's an outstanding leader. She's committed to continual improvement, and she's actively seeking ways to move the organization in a positive direction. I've worked with her, and I can say that with confidence. SCORE Jail obtained many specific certifications and achievements. They got reaccredited by Washington Association of Sheriff and Police Chief, WASPIC, and they're also accredited by the National Accreditation for National Commission on Healthcare which means that they have policies and procedures in place to provide good care for their inmates. SCORE contracts with national and local community service providers and that lead in industry in medical, mental, and inmate services. And SCORE officers receive ongoing crisis intervention team training, CIT, from the Criminal Justice Training Commission to respond to people in mental health crisis, similar training to what officers receive here in Federal Way. The police department recommendation is to secure the proposed SCORE jail contract service in order to best serve our citizens of Federal Way, enhance patrol operations, and ensure public safety is not at risk due to limited or reduced inmate housing options. And I am now prepared, along with Director Schrum, to answer any questions you might have about this proposed contract we're asking for approval to enter into.
Why don't I ask Director Schrum if she'd like to say a few words?
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Wong. I just would like this council to know a few things about SCORE that you may not be aware of. We have 24/7 medical care here at SCORE. We have registered nurse level care 24/7. But we also have a doctor on site 5 days a week. We have a dentist 5 days a week, and we have mental health, master's level mental health staff 7 days a week here at SCORE. We really focus, and Federal Way absolutely helps shape this culture, but we're a human-centered culture. We treat the inmate population. We know that they are somebody's friend, family, or neighbor, and that is instilled in our officers from the day one on the job. The officers are professionally trained through the Criminal Justice Training Commission. But what you might not know about SCORE is that we've been able to invest in reentry in the last couple of years. We've received more than $1 million in grant monies. We have probably the most comprehensive medication-assisted treatment program in the state for a jail. We have the ability to induct and provide continuity of care of medication-assisted treatment for opioid-addicted inmates. And that's, we also can maintain inmates on methadone. So if they come to us already on methadone, we're able to maintain that here at SCORE. And a lot of jails can't do that. We also offer free vaccinations, flu, Hep A, and Hep B vaccinations for the inmate population. That's provided by King County Department of Health. And we've really have been practicing and laying the groundwork to be able to provide COVID vaccinations when they are eventually available to the inmate population. So we're in this process of showing that we can be a vaccination site. And we have probably one of the fastest competency evaluation schedules. We have staff here embedded from Western State Hospital, so we can provide competency evaluations within just a couple weeks versus sometimes a couple months, depending on where you are. And lastly, I'd want you to know is our pandemic response. SCORE, and I'm knocking on wood as I say this, has been very fortunate. We've only had a few cases of COVID for either staff or inmates. All of the staff and inmates wear masks here. We have alcohol-based hand sanitizer in all of the inmate pods. We screen our staff and inmates with our medical staff here. They answer symptom-based questions and they have their temperature taken. SCORE has been closed to the public since March and will continue to be closed to the public until King County enters phase 3. In order to help address the isolation that goes with that, we've provided free phone calls and video visits for inmates. And I just got permission to waive a medical copay for inmates who are seeking medical care here at SCORE. Many of the jails would charge a medical copay, and there's nothing wrong with that. But in light of the pandemic, we are waiving that here at SCORE. As well as we've greatly increased our video visits and video contactless hearings. So our video courts, we have multiple platforms for video courts and can have contactless public defender representation through the use of iPads and technology. That's just, two other things. We wipe down the jail 4 times a day. which I think is a big part of our success so far. And we have the ability to isolate each of our individual housing units, and our inpatient clinic all have separate air handling units. So we've purchased surgical grade filters for our clinic and our designated quarantine spaces. But even our regular filters do an excellent job of filtering out airborne germs. And we are at, and have been since March, on booking restrictions. It won't affect the City of Federal Way in their ability to book their the 3 beds here today if you approve it. But we have greatly reduced our population. So we're a jail built to house 802 inmates, and we have approximately 410 right now in-house. And that is because of COVID-19 and ensuring that we're able to manage the pandemic here responsibly. So I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them. I know that was a lot of information.
Well, we appreciate, well, we all certainly appreciate you being here. And thank you, Chief, for your presentation. Councilmember Baruso.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Chief, for the presentation, and thank you, Director Shrum, for being here today. For those and myself that are not sure, could you go over what the NCCHC is and how that accreditation comes to fruition for SCORE?
Yes. It's the National Commission on Correctional Healthcare, and it's a national accrediting body. I don't have the number of standards in front of me, but much like WASPIC, the Washington Association for Sheriffs and Police, it's correctional-based healthcare standards. And we just recently went through our reaccreditation audit in October. We had to demonstrate that we were compliant with all of those standards. And although we did have a few action items, we were able to be reaccredited, which is good news. And there are not very many jails in Washington State that actually have that accreditation.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Councilmember Assefa Dawson.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the presentation. At the last council meeting, we did hear from the public concern about safety, abuse, and also a person, a death and a lawsuit that's happening. So can you just touch on that, just so we are confident that this is the relationship we want to enter, but also just to know that what steps you're taking or have taken to address these concerns and issues?
Yeah, it's tough because I'd love to be able to really defend and articulate, against that. The reality is that we are in some litigation over a death that occurred here at SCORE. I didn't work here at the time, but I am confident that SCORE followed all of the policies and practices, and that will eventually come out. But I can't really discuss any more than that. I can tell you that I have 24 years in corrections, and I am incredibly impressed with SCORE as a jail, as I was on the day that I came in, that it really truly is a human-centered culture, and that you can see that in the interactions that staff have. I take all complaints very seriously and address them if I've become aware of anything. And then would invite you at any point, even during COVID with a mask on, to come see the jail. This is something that you would be utilizing, and you are welcome here. So I would just invite you to come see SCORE and to meet the staff and to see for yourself what kind of facility we are.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Tran.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Chief Wong, and thank you, Director Shrum. When I look at this request from our police chief, I asked 4 questions for myself. One, whether or not this contract will enhance the safety issue for the community and for our officers. Second would be whether or not this contract would improve the effective and efficient of our police force. And the last one is whether or not this will save us money. And based on the conversation that I had with the police chief, and also today, the information once again provided by our police chief and the director, I am quite satisfied with what I heard. And I am ready to move forward on this contract. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Tran. Councilmember Kraft.
Thank you, Chief Huang, and thank you, Director Shrum, for being here tonight. I just wanted to say I really appreciate the presentation, both by the police chief and by Director Shrum. I learned today that SCORE has the ability for medicated assisted treatment, and I think that that is a very valuable aspect of the SCORE jail facility, and I'm happy that you mentioned that. I was just wondering, because you all did mention a continuum of care at the SCORE jail facility, do you have an average amount of time for when an inmate gets booked when they're able to receive their medicated assisted treatment? I know that in some jail facilities, there is a significant delay because obviously you have to get documentation, but do you know the average time once an inmate is booked, whether or not they're able to get that?
I don't know. I can certainly get that information for you. I can tell you that upon booking, they're meeting with a registered nurse, and in that moment, they're being asked key questions and being connected with services probably the next business day. But I will double check on that and be happy to provide that answer back to this council.
And just a follow-up, thank you so much, Director, for that response. And just a follow-up question. When you say that the inmates are meeting with nurses upon booking, is that all inmates? They're going through a booking process and then they meet with a nurse to make sure to sort of go through a checklist, essentially?
Yes, we have a registered nurse in booking that sees every inmate that comes in upon booking, or within 2 hours, I believe.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, and I want to support Councilmember Tran's sentiments that I am also satisfied that this would save our city some money. It would also be efficient for the Federal Way Police Department so that they can focus on more urgent matters than just simply booking an individual. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, Councilmember Moore.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. Chief, thank you. I know that your job can be daunting and difficult at times, and I really appreciate your patience, your steadiness, in briefing all of us in more detail. As it was stated, we heard some concerns from the public, and as partners on behalf of the public, it's our job to listen and take that into consideration. And I think it was a really good, healthy thing to take this item off the agenda 2 weeks ago and to have a more in-depth, detailed conversation. And clearly the safety measure is absolutely important for our law enforcement officers. The efficiencies is absolutely imperative and important, and obviously the need is clearly very important as well. And so thank you for just going over the details, answering more questions. I think that's what makes public policy and financial items so critically important. And I think that's what our job is to really vet things, discuss things, tear them apart, get a better understanding, and then make a decision. And you helped in that process. So thank you for that, Chief. And Director, thank you so much for being here. And thank you to the men and women that serve at the SCORE jail. So thank you.
All right. I see no further comments. Councilmember Kochmar, do you have a motion?
I do, Mayor. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chief Wong and Director Shrum, for your. I can tell you what, if I were ever going to go to jail, please don't consider it. But I'd rather be at SCORE than at King County Jail. I can tell you that. Okay. So I move approval of the proposed agreement and authorize the mayor to sign said agreement.
Second that.
Second.
And a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Councilmember Sefa Dawson, would you like to discuss further? No. Okay.
Sorry.
Great. Thank you. That's okay. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right. The matter passes unanimously. All right. We are now at 8:37, and pursuant to our prior practice last week, we're going to take a 10-minute break. We will be back. Let's try to get, let's go maybe closer to 8 minutes, closer to 8:45. Let's get right back here so we can get back to our business. We'll be in recess.
So, yeah, Mayor,
Yes.
Mayor, before we go, I think that Council President Honda is going to leave the meeting. I don't think she's feeling well.
Oh.
So let's tell her, go.
I'm going to stay. I am not feeling very well. That's why I'm very quiet tonight, but it's an important meeting, but thank you very much.
Okay. I'm sorry,
We need
Councilmember.
to protect our council members. Yeah.
We do. Let's say 10 minutes, you guys. Let's say 8:47. Okay. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
We'll be in Thank you. Okay. We'll be in recess.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll get started here in just a second.
Mayor Farrell,
Yes.
it says I can't start my video because the host has disabled it.
Oh. Thomas?
That would be me. I was, you left it on there, so.
Okay, thanks.
Actually, here, I'll get you started here.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. All right, everybody, let's get back. It's that is nice. It's a nice tradition to start taking those breaks. It is tough to sit for hours on end. Okay, let's go ahead and get started again. Item B under council business is resolution of the 2021 fee schedule. Staff report from Ade Arula, our finance director. Ade, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor Farrell, Council, President Honda, and Council. I'm here on behalf of Ade to present the fee schedule before you this evening. As you can see on the shared screen, this is the 2021 fee schedule as proposed. The 2020 fee is in the left column and the proposed 2021 fee is in the right column. The items that have changed are highlighted in red. The departments that have had changes are the police department, the community development department, and the public works department. As you see in section 1, there are some red changes for animal license fees. And if I scroll down a little further here, section 3 is primarily community development department, and the changes are in red for their permit fees and land use fees. And so section 3 continues through page 2, page 3 with changes throughout. And then section 7 includes land use community development fee changes for the community development department. And then as we go a little further onto page 7, section 10 is where public works fee changes start for their permit review and franchise fees. And then onto section 13 is where traffic impact fees and school impact fees are included. Some of the changes are due to CPI increases. Community development shows a CPI increase of an average of June and August CPIW for Seattle, Tacoma, and Bellevue. And the directors for the Community Development Department and the Public Works Department are here to answer questions on these fees. And the police chief is also available for answering questions regarding the police changes to the fees. And we would be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Okay. Council. Whoops. Council President Honda.
Thank you. So I asked a lot of questions at the FEDRAC meeting, and I'm comfortable in voting for these fees because Brian Davis did agree that we can look into the impact fees in the city center core in early 2021, which we need to, as a council, have a discussion about what we want to do with those impact fees. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Council, any other questions? All right. Seeing no other questions, Councilor Tran, do you have a motion?
Yes, sir. I move approval of the proposed resolution.
Second.
It's been a motion. A second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Matter passed unanimously. Great job, Chase. Thank you very much. Okay. Item C, Garrett litigation settlement. Staff report from our city attorney, Ryan Call.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council President, members of the council. Let me share my screen. I'm here tonight to seek approval for to authorize settlement in the Garrett versus City of Federal Way case. Council has been briefed on this several times. I do have a brief presentation for the public, if I can get my screen to scroll. Okay. By way of background, plaintiff sustained injuries when a police dog bit his leg during an arrest. The arrest was made in the middle of the night in response to a 911 call that was reporting armed men trying to break into an apartment. The plaintiff was on scene and not responding to orders to turn around so that the officers could cuff him. They were trying to get to the apartment quickly because, like I said, the report was that it was a life-threatening interaction that was happening at the apartment. The plaintiff was bit by a canine as part of an arrest. The plaintiff alleges that use of force was excessive and that the officers should have instead used a less lethal option. Department review of the arrest was done. The dog and the handler both have a lot of experience in arrests and no history of abuse of the police dog, and that in this instance, as in other instances, the force was both lawful and within department policy. It's important to note that the plaintiff's alleged facts at deposition were significantly different than the facts documented by the police in their police reports and third parties, such as the nurses that treated him and the doctors at the hospital. Nevertheless, because of that disparity in facts, it was going to go to trial because there was a factual dispute, which is very expensive. So as part of the pretrial process, the parties attended mediation, and during that process, the parties represented by both outside counsel for the city and the plaintiff had an attorney as well, agreed to a settlement of $45,000 to settle this matter. The city would not and does not admit any wrongdoing in this matter. This is a pure business decision. $45,000 is significantly less than it would cost to try this matter, and there's always the fear when you take a case to a trial that a jury might do something unexpected. So this relieves us of that danger. So the mayor's recommendation is to approve the settlement for $45,000. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
All right, Council President Honda. Yeah.
I don't have any questions. Is my hand still up?
Yes.
There, I took care of it.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay. Let's see here. Council President
like
Honda,
a
you have a motion. Yes, please.
I move approval
words
of
out
the
of my mouth.
proposed. I move approval of the proposed settlement in the matter of Garrett versus City of Federal Way in the amount of $45,000.
Second.
It's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, matter passed unanimously. Item D, 2021 legislative agenda, staff report by Velvedino, policy advisor. We also have our lobbyist, Mr.
Aaron Flygar.
Aaron Flygar, who's on the phone as well. Bill?
Mayor, Council President, and members of the Council, we're going to review our legislative agenda from 2 weeks ago, and I made some changes. We sent them to you this afternoon, but we'll walk through them right now, and then we all have questions. And if you have any questions for I or the mayor or for Aaron Flygar. So where we're at, you've got the new document, and we're working on the breakfast so we can share this in advance and then go through the details. Humanitarian relief, unchanged. but these are very important items for us to work on together with our legislative partners. Business support remains even more vital than ever. After we discussed this on the 17th, that was post restaurants being indoor dining being closed. Expansion of broadband internet. A modification there is to continue the partnership with the school district and propose $100,000 for continued expansion and see if they would fund that, much like Representative Johnson was able to get us $104,000 for safe city cameras. And then breaking news, we're very aware that both the state and with the Department of Commerce, they're going to be making significant efforts for expanding broadband internet to support businesses, residents, students, and educators. We have a contact now under the Secretary of Commerce, whose his whole role is broadband. And then, of course, we're looking at working with the new King County person. We're getting maps, and what we hope to have, what we will have when we get to the breakfast is some areas located that can be of emphasis to help our educators, help our residents, our students, and our businesses. Veterans remains the same, working on the Veterans Monument. Public safety, after the concern that we were reminded of from Councilmember Moore, John Hutton is put together for us to discuss at the breakfast. The mayor is going to review it in the next couple of days. A pilot project to prevent copper wire theft, $100,000, and basically we would go for one of the most vulnerable areas, which is Celebration Park. And then I believe after that, John's on the line too. There's one other park after that, and that would at least take care of our sports facilities, where when those crimes happen, it takes out and inconveniences many, many, many people. So then, of course, education, we put back support for additional funding for the Highline UW University initiative. That's something always to have on the radar. And of course, they're still working on their situation. So to be there for them is a good thing. And then, of course, community programs. We're still there with the community stakeholders group, the REACH Center, the Youth Substance Abuse Program, and the staff position. And we are working with Representative Johnson to find and maybe enhance the study on youth violence programs that would inform our REACH Center. So we'll have an update by the breakfast by then. Transportation, the ongoing projects as we work with the other legislative district for what needs to be done eventually, keeping that on the legislature's radar. Aircraft issues, the third phase of the ultrafine particle study. Through your budget, you're also helping fund part 2 with the other 6 cities, as that was COVID vetoed. And then, of course, local, state, and federal initiatives. And we'll also have our lobbyists once funded, the federal lobbyist. And then, of course, we are resolute that out of many one, and, we will look for all legislative opportunities to bring our communities together in ways to enhance social equity, social justice, and increased economic opportunities for our BIPOC communities. So that's where we are. Any questions for Aaron or I? And then, of course, the binders, which you'll see in advance for the breakfast as we work on trying to figure that out. We're now going to check with you tomorrow, the 9th, Wednesday the 9th, or we'll go into the next week. They'll have the details that you've seen before on the projects we proposed before, and then the new details on copper wire and broadband, etc. So, Mr. Mayor, Council President.
All right. Councilmember Suffolk Dawson, do you have a question?
I do. Thank you so much, Bill. I have 2 questions. One is the school district also proposing some of the educational initiatives that we're talking about, like the university initiative and stuff, in their legislative agenda and proposal? Do you know that?
We'll check. We'll check to see where they are. I'm not sure if they would weigh in on that, but they probably could. But we're going to check in with them because we want to talk broadband and get you more details on their legislative agenda.
And they were a signatory, and they were yes, they were a signatory on the university initiative.
Right.
Almost 3 full years ago. So yeah, they're. But we've got. We'll make sure we communicate that with them. And then actually, we were in regard to the school district and the broadband. We were actually working with a school board director, a school board member, of the board, Lakeisha Phillips, and she was very helpful in that effort, and we actually there's going to be a recognition of the City of Federal Way's efforts at the school board next board meeting for our contribution of $100,000 of CARES Act money for broadband. So there's a great deal of collaboration and partnership that's occurring between the school district and the city on this issue.
In fact, Director Phillips connected us with King County and with the Commerce. So sorry to interrupt.
Councilmember.
Great. No, I'm just saying thank you. I think it'll have more weight if both of us have the same or similar items on our legislative priorities. And then my other question to Bill is some of those priorities that don't have dollar signs attached to them. How do we? So what's the conversation like, or what are we looking for when we are proposing these priorities, such as the social justice one didn't have dollar signs attached to it, and there were other ones that I missed. But so what's the conversation about those, or what are we saying, or what are we looking for if we're not looking for funding?
Yeah, the conversation will be Olympia as a group en masse will look at funding for all, because a rising tide lifts all boats. And so we'll be looking to advocate for them to, if they have a statewide broadband support, they understand, where we are, but they're going to be doing it for all. Same with food insecurity and rental relief for businesses. And so we're going to be there at the table, SCA, other people lending a voice to an overall proposal. So it'll be more, the group piece.
So that's more regional, not necessarily
that's more regional
specific then.
Yeah, okay. That means they're advocating. Yes, exactly.
All right.
Thank you so much. Bill, maybe I can add something. I mean, it's statewide, right? We're looking for the biggest pots of money statewide, and those will turn into probably grants through various state agencies out to local governments. So we want the biggest pots of money possible.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That's helpful.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. Council President Honda, do you have a motion?
Yes. I move approval of the proposed 2021 state legislative agenda.
Second.
All right. There's a motion and a second. And I'm sure you noticed, Councilmember Moore, we added the language there about metal theft. Thank you very much. Or wire theft, which is a key piece of this now. And so thank you for that. There's been a motion. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for the suggestion. It's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Against? All right. The matter passes unanimously. All right. Now moving on to item E. Nuisance property demolition expense. Staff report from Brian Davis, our Community Development Director.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Council President Honda and members of the council. Plain and simple, this is about tearing down a house that's been neglected for 2 years. And so we talked about this a little bit last September about the status, and at the time we needed to do something about it, but the demolition process was going to take some time. So just as background, the location is on 18th Avenue South at 29604. It's been vacant for 2 years. The most recent owners are deceased, and there's been a number of fires that we've established have been arson based fires that basically left the house unsalvageable. There's a lot of transient activity, which is leading to more crimes. The neighbors are concerned. The city, after we discussed with you, the city council, about the situation, we did move forward with the city fronting the cost to board up the structure just to get it secure so that there wouldn't be any entry. As expected, that has been breached slightly. And it's also been tagged with graffiti. And so we're ready to, by this time, we have gone through the demolition bid process. And normally this is something that would go through committee and then go on consent. But one of the things that we talked about at the last meeting was to speed this along. Let's just go straight to council and get your approval and bypass the committee. And so that's why you're seeing this item in a business agenda item. So just a few pictures. This is a picture that was posted on Facebook that many of you probably saw. Shows the overgrowth, shows the fire damaged house. You can see that it's pretty, it's obviously open, or at least it was at the time. We had a city crew go out there and board it up. This is actually a lot cleaner than it was. There's just a few remnants of debris there left after the cleanup operation. And so that's what it looked like when we were done. It was secure for a time. So we went through and did there's a process when anytime that local government is going onto private property to do something this drastic, it does take, there is due process associated with it. We can't just do it right away. So we did go through that, and then we did put out bids, and we did select Wolfskill Construction, their bid for $29,000. This is within my department's budget limitations. And on top of that, we will place a lien on the properties to recover the expense in the long run. So we need your approval for the funding and for the agreement to merely move forward at this time. Options for you are to approve the agreement or to not approve the agreement, and to give us additional direction. The mayor recommends approving this agreement so we can move forward.
All right.
And
two
there's
questions.
the crew. Any questions?
Oh, well, first of all, thank you to your crew and all the work that's been done. I know that we had significant concern out in the community, and your folks went out there as quickly as possible to get this all boarded up when it looked horrible. I went out there myself several times, and actually, if you look on Google Maps on this house, prior to the owner passing away, it was actually a very well kept up property. So it was very sad to see the fires and the destruction and the graffiti, and just very unfortunate. Councilmember Kochmar?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor. Does this, I believe this goes into the receivership by the state, is that correct? So, Brian, how does that work? Somebody will own, we'll place a lien against the property, but who actually owns the property in the end?
Right. So right now it's the owners that are it's in some unknown ownership. And so when the taxes are paid, which they are currently, they're up to date on their taxes. So when those are paid, the city will, is the first lien holder. And so it'll either recover the cost that we're now talking about in addition to the boarding expense that we took on. And then it will continue in its current state until the new owners decide what to do with it, if it's an inheritance type situation. Or if there is no taxes that are paid, then the city will be the first in line to, if there are no other liens, and I don't know the answer to that at this point, but let's say that we're first in line for the as a lien holder, then we would, there's a process, but then we would likely then take the property as the first lien holder. But all signs point to, there's a history of the taxes being paid even after the owners have been deceased, so I suspect that they will be again. And at that point, in theory, then we should collect all or a portion of the lien or the expenses that we're talking about through the lien process.
Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Moore?
Thank you, Brian. Obviously, I've heard you say lien several times. Just for the public that are watching or will watch later, do you just want to talk about what is a lien and how does that work?
It's an instrument or a document that goes on the property, so that when the county assessor or the county tax department collects the taxes on it, there will be a note on there that says, in addition to the normal taxes that anyone would normally pay who owns this property, there is an additional expense on the bill, basically on the tax bill, and that goes to the city of Federal Way for all the work that it's done in boarding up the property and then what we're talking about if it goes forward, demolishing the property, and then that bill would have to be paid to the city of Federal Way, which is a simple way of saying what the lien is.
Okay. Council President Honda.
Thank you. Brian, when this house is taken down, will the garbage and all the litter around be picked up at the same time? And is the city going to continue to monitor that after the house is removed so that the property stays as clean as possible? I've been by there numerous times, and it gets worse every time I'm over there.
Yeah. So in addition to the structure itself, you're right. Then the garbage will be picked up, and at that point, there really is nothing to maintain other than the vegetation, which the city can continue to do.
Or pick up any garbage that is
True. Yeah.
dumped there.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Council President Honda, do you have a motion?
I move approval of the proposed agreement and authorize the mayor to execute said agreement.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. We're going to matter passes unanimously. Item 8, ordinances, first and second reading. Item A, Council Bill 794, ordinance for the 2020 budget adjustment. First of all, I have a staff report from Ade Arewula, our finance director.
Good evening, Mayor, Council President, and Council. This is just a brief presentation to add the new or the second COVID grant from the state to the 2020 budget, which actually this particular grant ended yesterday. So based on the grant, I think we can only spend it through the end of November. So all of the items that were used, we've already brought them to the council and for approval. So okay. Okay. The okay. So the major item in there is just to reallocate the 1,467,000, the second side of the grant. This is some of the presentation that we've made to you, and this is how the budget for 2020 is. This particular amount is allocated out of that 1.467,360, even though all of it are within the general fund, to public works, IT equipment, based on what Mayor just said, based on our partnership with the school district, 100,000 for them. The software, the budget software that we brought to the council, that is 362, and the business grant, again, which Mayor was talking about earlier today, about 588,000, with a total of 1.4 million. Even though the total grant from the state is about is 4.4 million, I'm pleased to let you know that we've billed them for 3.6 million. And I got an email just about 15 minutes ago. We just got another 1.1 million, which we billed them last week, which is direct deposited into our account about 30 minutes ago. So that is good. We've received about 3.6 million out of 4.4 million. So we will bill them tomorrow the balance of 780,000. So, and so I will ask the council to consider first and second reading, because this is for 2020, and we need to amend the 2020 budget before the end of the year. Thank you.
Okay, Councilman, thank you, Ade. Council members Kochmar, Moore, and Council President Honda, your hands are up. Did you all want to read that? Okay, so Council President, okay, there we go. All right, I don't see any hands up. So with that, is there any public comment, Stephanie?
No, Mayor, I don't have anybody signed up.
Okay. Would the city clerk please read the ordinance title?
Council Bill 794, Ordinance 2020 Budget Adjustment, and ordinance of the City of Federal, Washington relating to amending the 2019-2020 biennial budget.
All right. And I said that kind of funny. I just want to make sure make sure there's a meaningful opportunity. Council, does anybody have any questions? Okay, seeing none. Councilmember Tran, do you have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move to suspend City Council Rule 2.2, Section H, to allow first reading and enactment of the ordinance in one meeting.
All right.
Second.
Is there a second? All right, there's a second. It's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this motion to suspend the rules? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right. That motion passes unanimously. Now, on to the main motion. Councilmember Tran.
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of the proposed ordinance.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Once again, it is passed unanimously. We're an agreeable bunch tonight. Second reading, item B, Council Bill 790, Ordinance, Transportation Impact Fee Code Amendment. Would the city clerk please read the ordinance title?
Council Bill 790, Ordinance, Transportation Impact Fee Code Amendment, an ordinance of the City of Federal, Washington relating to transportation impact fees, amending Federal Revised Code 19.91030 through 19.91.110 and 19.91.140 through 19.170.
All right. Councilor Brusso, do you have a motion?
Yes, it is, Mr. Mayor. I move approval of the proposed ordinance.
Second.
It's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Matter passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Item C, Council Bill 791, Ordinance, Federal Link Extension Alteration Number 1. Would the city clerk please read the ordinance title?
Council Bill 791, Ordinance, Federal Link Extension Alteration Number 1, an ordinance of the City of Federal, Washington approving a change to the Federal Link Extension Project Development Agreement between the City of Federal and Sound Transit.
All right. Councilmember Brusso, do you have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I move approval of the proposed ordinance.
All right. Is there a second? All right. It's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Matter passes unanimously. Item D. Council Bill 792, Ordinance, the 2021 to 2022 biennial budget. Before we go here, actually, after the city clerk, would city clerk please read the ordinance title, and then I'm going to have a day talk about what he added in, just to make sure before we have, if the city clerk will please read the ordinance title.
Yes, sir. Council Bill 792, Ordinance 2021-2022 biennial budget, an ordinance of the City of Federal, Washington relating to budgets and finance, adopting the 2021-2022 biennial budget.
Okay. This is obviously very important to make sure that we got exactly what the council had come to consensus and voted on. Aday, can you just very briefly just go over just to make sure that the council can be assured that what they believe was from the what was agreed to at first reading was incorporated into what they're voting on now?
Okay. Yes, thank you, Mayor. What is included in your packet was the original budget as the mayor presented it to you. But of course, during the first reading, there are several amendments. And that is why what is replaced now is titled the Exhibit A revised. That is to take into consideration all of the decisions of the council. In the first reading, I included both to be able to show you this is what Mayor presented, this is what you are now enacting. So, but when the packet for this particular second reading was sent, only the first one, which would be the original one. So the one that we are voting on is the revised one, which will include all of your changes.
All right. Which included the additional positions.
Yes.
The Diversity Commission to be an in-house. I want to make sure that we are all on the same page, and it's a sacred trust that we have here with the people and the people that we work with each other. But the half-time position for the diversity position, the full-time position for economic development director, the lobbyist at $60,000, the contract position with the community development department, and the administrative assistant in the IT department.
IT, correct.
Okay. Did I miss anything, Council? Okay, I think I got it. Been going a day, and I've been going over this over and over. I can do it in my sleep now. Okay, Council, do you have any questions? Okay, hearing none. Council President Honda, do you have a motion?
Yes, I move approval of the proposed ordinance.
Second.
It's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I have something.
Council President Honda.
I would just like to say that I'd like to thank the mayor and staff, along with the council. This budget addresses several of our council goals that we created at our retreat in January, and that's what we wanted it to do. We worked really hard. Everyone worked really hard, and I think this is a budget that we can be proud of. So thank you very much for all of your work, and I urge adoption of the budget.
All right. Thank you, Council President. Council, any other comments? Councilmember Moore.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. This is a budget that I believe that we can all be proud of. Again, I want to reiterate my sentiments and my comments that I had nearly 2 weeks ago. But Mr. Mayor, you did a great job. As I like to share and remind you, 2 years ago when we passed our budget, we had some fireworks at the last hour of that meeting. And this is one where I could really sit back and say, you know what, we truly came together and really collaborated together on the city's and quite frankly the city's budget to operate on for the next 2 years. And you've heard me saying this. This is the single most important thing we do as policy partners, as elected officials, and whatnot, and as policymakers for the city of Federal. And so I think we've made some really good decisions. We've got to obviously be prudent and be careful and be thoughtful as we continue to move forward. And I know that we're going to continue to look at everything through, we're going to look at everything thoughtfully with each budget adjustments and quite frankly, every single month as we come through the budget, as it is at that time. The other thing I wanted to kind of say is we're all kind of watching social media and Facebook and whichever ways. I know that having watched some of the comments, it's kind of neat because I really feel like this budget and the work that we've done as a council is also reflective of some of the things that I've seen on the Federal Community Watch Facebook page. And so I wish I could pull it up here, but maybe during my council report, I can find it. But again, this is a budget that we should be proud of. Is it 100% perfect? No. But it is a solid, good budget for us to operate on. And with that, I am confident that this budget will pass. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. All right, Council, any other comments? All right, thank you. Council President Honda, do you have a motion? Actually, you have moved. There's been a motion. There's been a second. We are in the middle of a discussion. Seeing no further comment, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Our budget, and we now have a budget, has been approved at second reading unanimously. Thank you. Great work, Council. Item E, Council Bill number 793, Ordinance 2021 Property Tax Levy. Would the City Clerk please read the ordinance title?
Council Bill 793, Ordinance 2021 Property Tax Levy, an ordinance of the City of Federal Way, Washington, relating to fixing the property tax amount for the year 2021.
All right. Council President Honda, do you have a motion?
I move approval of the proposed ordinance.
Second.
It's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Matter passes unanimously. All right, we're on to council reports, and let's start with Councilmember Asefa Dawson.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, council members and staff and everyone. Tonight's meeting was great, and I don't have anything to report on, so good night, everybody.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Baruso.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also, my phone's buzzing. Sorry about that. Relay with my colleague, Councilmember Asefa Dawson said, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, staff. Great meeting tonight. And I just want to comment on the budget too. So, I've negotiated contracts like the mayor has before. And sometimes there's days where you put your fist to the desk or the table and you demand some things, and other times you compromise. And I can tell you that this process that I've seen, and I know that I've talked to other council members that have been through this before, and this is pretty much streamlined, I think. And I think they believe that too. And I appreciate all the collaborative, everything we did, really. And I think that the budget is where it should be right now, what we have. I think we should all be proud of it. And I thank all of you for that. So my political service announcement for tonight is, I did say this before, but first of all, also the shop local, again, it's that point where support your local businesses, your restaurants, your businesses. And again, I've been doing that for quite a long time. I know other folks have too on the restaurants, and there are a lot of restaurants out there hurting. And if you visit them, support them. But as for my little public service announcement, please wear your mask. I know that in some of the calls I've been on to give you an idea of when folks talk about herd immunity, data shows that do herd immunity on any of the COVID, it takes 10 times the death of what we have today. So we're at 250 is 2.5 million to try to do that. So just kind of think about that when we're out there, take care of each other. I've had my my first positive case in our fire station, and it's not something to be playing with, because we have a lot of folks there that are essential workers that need to respond. So just protecting ourselves, our families, and everyone. So, and that's it for me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Tran.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to echo what have been said about the budget. I feel really good about this budget. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, staff. And thank you, council members, for passing this budget. I think it's a win-win situation for everybody. And I'm really happy that we did our work. Let's see, what else? Well, since we don't have the second meeting on December, I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And now Councilmember Kraft.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, council members and staff. I also want to echo the sentiments of getting this budget passed. I want to say that thank you to all of the council members that discussed the budget with me and the mayor and answering my questions. It was difficult having to jump in and look through the budget, but it was a really good learning experience. And I will say that I just continue to learn every day. I think that there are the positions that we are putting into the budget are really necessary and it will be helpful in advancing our city. And the last thing I want to say is also happy holidays to everybody moving forward, since we won't be able to see you in the future. The testing center is also still open in front of the aquatic center. It is much more busy, and I will say I've been through it twice now personally, and it's not a pleasant experience, but the results come back pretty quickly, and everybody who works there is really nice. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Moore.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. As I indicated a few moments ago when we voted on the budget for the next 2 years, I indicated that, there was a little bit of a poll done on the Federal Community Watch, and, people obviously wanted to have extra support in the economic development department and also in the community development department, and of course support for the IT department. So again, everything that we've made and the decisions that we've done and the items that we've added to the budget I think are really truly reflective of this community. So really exciting. Thank you to Ade and his team. Thank you to all the department directors for their patience and it's been a good as I indicated, it's been a good efforts working on this budget together. I think it's been a much better process. Secondly, the Shop Local initiative, as you indicated, Mr. Mayor, I did attend your virtual meeting over that, and so very pleased with what you're doing and what the city of Federal Way is doing, and to be able to support that effort. I think it's going to be really important, and there's always something that can be done even after the pandemic, as you've heard. So I think this is the start of something new, and so very pleased about this. Also with the city app, I think that really truly opens up the door to so many possibilities of better connecting residents to the city of Federal Way. And so I'm really excited about that and the possibilities that come from that. Also, I just thought I'd share with everybody that, I had the pleasure of paying $400 for my car tabs. Lucky me. And so I am going to be celebrating that with a little bit of a Dr. Pepper. That's a Diet Dr. Pepper. And so with that, that's, boy, it would be nice if the legislature could take care of that and address that issue. And with that, I'll end by saying thank you to all the city staff, especially Sarah, for all of her work that she's done in the human services. Lots of work during this pivotal time. And so really appreciate all of her efforts and our commissioners. And with that, I'll end my report. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Councilmember Kochmar.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm really pleased that we have completed a very difficult budget during a very difficult time. We don't get to run at a deficit like the federal does, so we had to get our budget balanced, and thank you to Ade for that. Mayor, were we able to get the tents for the restaurants?
We just actually, Tim actually looked at it. We number one, we were very concerned about the timing to be able to do that. We had to be, we only had about a week to be able to spend that money. More importantly, though, the tents were going to cost probably about, with the heaters, $250,000, and it just doesn't. It just didn't work.
Okay.
We looked at it, we thought about it, but maybe it's something we can do in the future if we need to. We also, I want to let you. And one of the things I shared with the council president quite some time ago with regard to homeless issues, that we were initially looking at tents for our emergency response for the homeless with heaters, but that was going to. We looked at that. That was going to cost us about $750,000.
Okay.
Would have taken up half that second. So no, we weren't able to.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mayor. I would also like to just say, we're going into this Christmas season. We don't know what's going on with the federal government. We don't know. A lot of people don't have jobs right now. So I know it's a very depressing time for a lot of people. It's a time where they have food insecurity, worried about their rent, worried about their jobs, their health, their schools. So I think it would be a good time to remind our community that what we need to do is be sure to donate to the multi-service center food bank, because we have long lines at the food bank, not as long as some other cities have had, but we do have long lines, and some of the food that goes there does get shared with the day shelter. And so if you're out there and you're going to buy so much for dinner and you get a free turkey, bring a free turkey over to the back end of the multi-service center, 336, and about, gosh, what is that, about, I don't know, 20th? No, it's more like 16th South. Anyway, just drive it around to the back and drop it off, and they'll be pleased to get it. Last thing I just wanted to ask, Mayor, next year, you know, when we, going back to 10, 15 years ago, when we first got lights in the downtown, it was, you know, for retail and to make things festive and cheery. And I had gone into downtown Seattle, and everything was, at that time, was so festive and cheery and so many lights, and came back and Federal Way looked so dull and drab that we got lights on the trees. And at that time, LED wasn't out yet. It was still the bright lights. And I am wondering, Mayor, next year, I know this year was not a year to be talking about decorations. We had so many other things to do. But next year, could we sort of all get together on what we'd like the downtown to look like for festivity, to bring people in to shop in the downtown, just to lift spirits? I would just like to see, maybe we could get donations from the community or from the businesses. We just need to brighten up our downtown and make people want to be here, want to stay here, you know, hopefully go to a restaurant here after they shop next year. I'm hoping we have some shopping and restaurants available. So anyway, just asking, thanks, Mayor, if you wouldn't include the council in some of those discussions. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Ice skating rink.
Council President Honda.
Yeah, that too.
Tonight was a great meeting. Thank you, everyone. I just like to say, support your local retail stores, enjoy our restaurants, and happy holidays. I'll be glad when 2020 is over and we can look forward to brighter days in 2021.
Hear, hear. Proud and honored to work with each and every one of you. Thank you. Thank you to the staff, everybody here who works so hard. And thank you, Thomas, for making sure that we could all be on this virtually, and your entire staff. Stephanie, for your the clerks and everybody, all the management team members and all the staff who make it happen every day, and to my policy partners on the city council. Everybody have a very happy holiday season, and we will probably have one more meeting for the rest of the year, and that will be with the legislative agenda. With that, council, we are adjourned. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.